Hi everyone, this is Enzo from Funnel TV, the Travel Tech channel. Today is going to be a really crazy day, guys. This is going to be an insane live stream. Never happened before. So basically, we are going to run this live stream session starting now. Maybe we will end around 7 o'clock this evening. So the idea is to run through different panel, different interviews with different hospitality leaders. I have my colleagues Ryan, Haynes, and Rita Varga based in Berlin. They will be connected from the student hotel. Is actually where this live stream is taking place, and the event is going to be like a digital travel show. So this first panel is going to be run in a mic's room. So Ryan is connecting right now. I'm going to open his channel.
Hey, Enzo. Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm very good, man. How are you? It's going to be fun today.
It's going to be absolute madness. I tell you what, it's already been madness the last 3 days, and especially the last 4 since it was announced that ITB was cancelled. And obviously, we wanted to find a way to get a platform for any business to be able to communicate to the industry to help them through both these hard times that we've got coming up, as well as the future as digital transformation really takes its hold on the industry. So, thanks for inviting me to be part of this and Funnel TV. And we've got Rita Varga just waiting in the wings, and we'll be going over to see her in about 40 minutes after our first panel.
So before we start, so let me just give some advice to the viewers, guys. This is that session was prepared in the last 24 hours, right, Ryan? So we went crazy, me, you, Rita, Emre, to plan everything, and so there might be some issue in the middle, guys. Don't worry. So we will carry on. And I think people will have some fun. Even if people are not attending any events in Berlin, they're sitting from their office, from any location in the world. Guys, you can connect on funneltv.tech and watch the live straight away, or LinkedIn, or YouTube, or Facebook, all the company profile of Funnel TV. So I see Rita is connecting. Should we open the channel to Rita too?
Yeah, let's have a quick chat with Rita if she's there. Let's see how she's getting on.
Hey, Rita.
Hi guys, I'm sitting here in our private studio at the student hotel and just waiting to go on the floor and do some interviews with the companies who are downstairs on the floor and having the mini ITB. I'm looking forward to the sessions and this afternoon.
All right, cool. So you are in some other part of the hotel. Ryan is sitting in a meeting room. I know that there will be some interview in a bedroom. So guys, everywhere is fine apart the toilet. Come on.
Well, you never know where we might end up. So for our first session, we are going to be discussing revenue, Enzo.
Yeah. So would you like to introduce your guest?
Yep. I have 5 people sat behind me, as some of you would have been seeing, and we're going to do a quick introduction to each of them, and then we're going to have a conversation about revenue management, and how you can make sure that your business maintains afloat, but also increases its profitability over the coming years. So first up, let me just run through the panel first, and then we'll have a proper conversation with them. We have Mike from OTA Insight. We have Fritz from Like. We have Philip from the Student Hotel, who's kindly put us up here the next couple of days. We got Neville from Beonprice, and we got Vallner here from Up2. Each of them have a very different perspective on revenue, and so it'll be interesting to see what they have to say. And as we move towards more of a discussion around some of the challenges and the opportunities coming towards us. So if I first come over to you then, Mike, you're from OTA Insight. Tell us a bit more.
That's right, Ryan. So we're a provider of business intelligence analytic tools to the hospitality industry. We're working with 8 out of the 10 global chains and over 50,000 properties around the world. So we've got a really good penetration of the market, but a great insight to what the market's doing and how we can develop tools and platforms that help the industry optimize their revenue and their business.
And so what sort of tools and products does OTA Insight have?
We have at the moment 3 specific solutions. One is a rate shopper called Rate Insight, looks at the competitive pricing around a particular hotel to ensure a revenue manager can adjust their pricing on a daily basis because it's live data and optimize their performance, their competitiveness. We've got another tool called Parity Insight. It looks at the pricing of that particular hotel and across a whole enterprise of hotels of your hotel, brand.com, with the channels to try and ensure that you can track and then change the behavior of the channel to ensure that you are optimizing your pricing directly and keeping your channels correctly aligned. And then we have a product called Revenue Insight. There's much more of a business analytics tool. It looks at your business as a hotel and allows you to compare this year's pickup and pace and performance versus last year or other periods to identify where those maybe challenges or gaps are, break that down in segments that you can allow you to identify where you could change your behavior to address and grow and optimize your revenue.
Excellent, wonderful, thank you. I'll come back to you just shortly. Fritz,
So we deal with all things that are online marketing in many ways, and we help hotels influence how their revenue is generated online. Naturally, through the website is a main criteria there. We also consult on how the balance should be for any given hotel between the website revenue, OTA revenue, how to deal with meta searchers. So we're very much involved in creating online, an online presence for hotels, and which ultimately then obviously has an effect on the revenue. And as I'm sure we can all agree, the internet is a wild space sometimes as to ways of getting that revenue nowadays. And we try and make it a little bit more understandable for the hotels.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Philip, well, we can't say nothing but thank you very much for having us today and the next couple of days. And actually, as I look around at the student hotel, it's quite unique. So tell me about the student hotel.
Yeah, but first of all, we're open since the 1st of October last year. So it's a brand new property. And as you can see, when you look left and right, there's a lot of things moving in Berlin, especially construction wise. This hotel is a brand new build hotel for the student hotel, 475 bedrooms, 6 conference rooms, and a stunning lobby where we have our mini ITB today, which is turning out to be a great success, thanks to the help of the partners that we had in Berlin with Fritz and naming another of Patrick of Hotel Shop One and other of the exhibitors, Alexander, who's out there. So it's very, very great, and we're very happy to have all of you here and trying to make the best out of this very sad and bad situation economical-wise for us. So revenue is really the topic that will foster us in the next couple of months for sure, coming ahead with the crisis and the situations.
And it's certainly interesting to have a hotelier perspective on the panel here, and a new hotel. How do you build up the revenue for a new hotel, and particularly at a point in time when your brand isn't well known? So we'll find out more from Philip in just a moment. Neville, Beonprice, tell us about Beonprice, please.
Well, in Beonprice, we're revenue management specialists, and we have revenue management technology for hotels. So our primary product is a revenue management system, which uses machine learning to make a demand forecast for the following 365 days for all your products and all your room types. And on the basis of this forecast, we make recommendations about your strategy. So recommendations on pricing, recommendations on restrictions. And one of the things that we do, which is a bit different from other kinds of revenue management systems, is we also take into account the relationship between the quality of your hotel and the price. This enables us, we think, for you to price more fairly. And this also helps you to have more repeat business and better customer loyalty. So that's in a nutshell. We do lots of other stuff, but I think that's enough for now.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. So I swap round over here. Vladimir, up to. What is up to all about?
The up to stands for upgrade to, and the number 2 essentially connotates upgrade to a better stay. What upgrade to does is it provides an opportunity for hoteliers and other travel professionals or operators to add more value to the stay of a guest or a travel itinerary. Hoteliers up to date had absolutely no way for generating additional revenue from the time that the reservation is made till the time the guest departs or arrives. During stay, there's still the opportunities. What we do now is we get that hotel to become the center and the friend of the guest, essentially, and take back ownership of that guest, something that hoteliers are very good at doing. That's pure hospitality. We support them that way.
So there's so much changing in the world of hotel pricing and distribution and technology. And with many of the panelists here today representing a technology of some form and one who'll be able to talk to us about the technology that they use, it's how we actually take some of the core disciplines around pricing and distribution and also marketing, which the audience really need to know. I mean, what and how can they not just look at the current situation, but if the current situation didn't exist, what were you particularly looking at, and how were you looking at helping or suggesting to hoteliers to drive their business forward? And there's a lot of talk about digital transformation at the moment, and what is digital transformation? And certainly in the light of a lot of new products that have entered into the new markets with a lot of new types of technologies like artificial intelligence, for example, and how data is managed, it's giving a lot more power to hotels to perhaps take control. And I think that's perhaps the question that we've had over the last 15 years and one that we've been playing with, right, is how do hoteliers take back control of their rates and distribution? If I start with you over here, Mike, so if we look at pricing, what should hoteliers be considering today?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's for anyone. There's a couple of aspects there. And you mentioned your introduction there, technology, understanding demand and predicting things rather than looking backwards. And so certainly we have historically surfaced insightful information, actual insight around competitive pricing, pricing that is happening in the distribution channel, and of course the activity that is on the books information, looking backwards. We're going to use ITB to soft launch a new product which is very much still in development, which really addresses the points you're making, which is very much a demand-focused product. So traditionally, talking to hotels, they look at demand as future on the books information. We go and speak to someone like Google or Expedia or Booking, they'll look at who's searching what and where. And so we are creating a product where we're taking billions of data points, looking at a whole variety of input to put together a very real-time demand picture for what's happening around the hotel, a much more sophisticated way than potentially they used to then make those sort of decisions around pricing. So something to look out for in the coming months, and we're certainly looking to take input from the industry and working with some of the very large chains and independent properties to develop that product.
Yeah, so as we say, data, and this is certainly perhaps where the whole hotel quality index that Beonprice has starts to play a part and perhaps change the way we consider data and what is important data when pricing. So can you tell us a bit about how hoteliers could potentially reposition themselves in the market?
I mean, traditionally in revenue management, we've looked at very limited sets of data. So we've looked at past transactions from the PMS, as Mike mentioned. But there's a lot more data available now. And actually, you need technology to be able to manage this data. You can't do it on your own anymore. And we look at the historical data, and we look at secondary data sources. So we look at your pricing, which is freely available information. And then we look at the quality. And actually, what we look at is we look at what kind of product you have. So this is what we call the objective quality, and that information is readily available. And then we also look at your online reputation, which could be called your subjective quality, because it's the opinion of someone after they've stayed in your property. And we look at that depending on what kind of customer it is. So a business customer is not looking for the same kind of thing as a leisure customer. And we use all this. We have an algorithm with our secret sauce. And we use this to establish the relationship between your price and your quality within your comp set. And this feeds into our recommendations of price, because we believe that this is the opposite situation of right now, but in excess demand, a 3-star hotel could maybe charge €1,000 for their room. But is that a good idea in the long term? Is that customer going to come back? Are you creating customer loyalty? So we take a look at the whole picture in this sense. And we think that this helps you in the long term to get the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is repeat business, because acquiring new customers all the time is hugely expensive. And if you can create loyalty through your pricing, then this is a real good way to increase your profitability as a hotel.
Thank you, Neville. And so, Fritz, when you're advising hotels on pricing, what are the things that sort of conversations you're having, especially maybe in the last few weeks before the coronavirus, but in last few weeks, where were you at with conversations?
Well, I think the conversations have always been there. It's just that they've changed now in the past couple of weeks naturally because of what happened. I think it's great, first of all, that there's panels like this nowadays where revenue is a topic. I remember times when I went into the industry, which was 5 or 6 years ago, that wasn't really something you would we're probably going to discuss. The conversation is largely now, I think, about not only what to do with the data that you have, but also how to get it, which is why I think, some of the companies that are here are great to help with that. We also take into consideration a little bit more than that, in the sense that we also look at other data that might not immediately correspond to revenue. For example, very simple data from your website, usage of your website, usage of some of your other digital channels, which can also target or help you target, because it will give you an indication of when your website is used more heavily, in a sense that at that point in time you've got more people on your website, so the chance of getting said demand might be greater, and you can therefore influence your revenue. So I think the revenue stats, as you just said, has gotten a lot bigger now, and there's a lot more there, which has made the conversation longer and probably a little bit more detailed in terms of what you just asked, which I think is good, because it shows that hoteliers have understood, which isn't necessarily a given in this industry, as we all know, have understood the necessity to have this conversation. And in recent times, past 2 or 3 weeks, I think it's been a lot about cancellation, about how to deal with that. We've done a lot of crisis communication of how to communicate your strategy in terms of this whole Corona thing now, especially here with the local hotels in Germany, where it wasn't just ITB that was cancelled, but some other events as well. Switzerland, where we have a lot of clients, is the same deal. Italy is not a fun place to do events at the moment. So there's I think that conversation is quite heavily focused on the cancellation policy side of revenue at the moment, for natural reasons.
Before all this in January, were we looking at quite an exciting, healthy 2020?
I think we were, absolutely. I think the economic situation, certainly, I can only speak for Central Europe, but certainly for Central Europe was very good. We had a pretty good year 2019. Everything, despite some uncertainty with the European Central Bank and all of that, everything was relatively stable, and we had quite a lot of events and happenings coming to 2020, and that we're going to make it a pretty good year. I'm not convinced yet, and you'll have heard this here first probably, that the year is going to be terrible. I'm not convinced of that just yet. I think a lot will depend on how rigorously the hotels will go forward with their cancellation policies, or whether, which is kind of a traditional hotel thing to do, we will back down again a little bit. Obviously, there has to be a compromise, but I think 100% free of charge cancellation in the year 2020 should not be on the menu anymore. So I'm not convinced it's going to be terrible. It's certainly not going to be as great as we were predicting it to be, for obvious reasons. And I think a lot will depend also, and this is going to sound dumb, but on the weather. I think if it gets warmer quickly, and bear with me on this thought, it will help the whole coronavirus situation, because people will be less challenged with their immune system, and it will be easier to catch it. So if there was ever a case of force majeure, this is it. Because if the sun shines, I think the year will be better. And if it starts shining earlier and getting warmer earlier, this may sound a bit abstract, but I genuinely believe that, because it will be easier for the coronavirus to be condemned. If we get a real winter in mid-March, it's going to be a long year.
It will be interesting to see. And we had 2 fantastic summers, especially in the UK. It's been phenomenal. So I'm hoping for another one. Absolutely. I now live on the beach. It's even better. Yeah.
Beach in UK. You get a tan in London, it's a good summer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can get it by April, Yeah. Well, a British tan, that is. Okay. So, but when you were looking at pricing yourself, Philip, what things have you been let's forget the coronavirus for a second. How have you been going about pricing for your hotel?
Well, we should keep in mind that this is a new opening. So I would not reflect a new opening of a brand that is not known in the place at all as the normal way of dealing with the price segmentation. So that's the one thing. The second thing is we have over half of the hotel placed and focused on students who pay a monthly rent. So they're a bit in an extra range. So at the end of the day, we're talking about 190 rooms plus or minus that are normal hotel rooms where we have a normal pricing. The funny thing is in Berlin that at the end of the year, the 4-star properties, based on where they are, always turn out at the a very similar average. So it doesn't really matter what you do. If you follow with the peaks, you might turn up when you have a new product always at the same range. I don't want to say that you can fuck up a lot in Berlin. You can, but being a city with a high demand situation, and being a new product, it's quite easier to drive revenue in your hotel. So that is probably a bit different to other properties where you have a more or a less demand-driven market than Berlin. We still have a lot of customers coming.
And how do you sort of identify your prices then? What sort of data are you looking at to do that?
Well, let me go back to my old job where I was a bit more settled and less active with technical construction stuff than I'm here at the moment, where, I mean, running a big hotel, the biggest thing you have to bring is trust. So you got to trust in partners, you got to trust in systems, and you got to put trust in those people who run the systems, because in 99% of the cases, even though I'm a very, very good and probably smart guy, they are much more talented because much more time of their day are focused on exactly one little spot of that travel journey and experience. So by trusting on a partner and trusting on a word, you might be better off. And coming back to my last 10 years of career in Berlin, I was always very good when I trusted a lot to the revenue people when they did their systems. I would add, it's very, very important that you not only rely on numbers and statistics. And the Sunday, the 15th was a concert, which is not there the Sunday next year. And you cannot, the system will tell you, okay, put up the price because the Sunday was a good day. So there is some local spirit or some common sense that you would need to look into in the pricing. So what I usually do is I keep a very close connection with the revenue team. Especially here in this property, as the revenue team is based in Amsterdam. So there is not the geographical knowledge of Berlin in that case. That was different with Accor because our revenue team was based here. So most of the times they were quicker informed about changes than I was. Based on that is their topic, what they look about. So put trust in and talk a lot, and then put some common sense in. I think then in this market particular, you're very well off. But the most common thing is have trust.
And that's both with your internal team, but also with your advisors outside. That could be your technology systems that you're working with. So finding those partners that you can trust and understand your business.
Well, the biggest challenge for all the partners that we have is you gotta translate something that you put 99% of your time into a language to a person that wants to put less than 1% of its time in and still be successful. I think that is the biggest challenge that you guys have, because you can talk about a lot of things and at the end you need to put it to a person, as you said, that might be not either interested or really keen to understand what's going on. So I crack it simple, having a good dashboard, having a simple structured way of this is the bottom line. When you do this, you get this. Sometimes you have to dealing with a kid. The more easier you have it for me, the more quicker I will say, yes, agree, let's put the trust in. And then I will call you back and say, okay, listen, you said that you're going to put 15 euros up here. I see it's only 5. I would be okay with 12. 5 is a little bit too less. So I think that's how you moderate it. So based on a hotelier's perspective, I'm happy that I don't need to put out 100% of my time in that topic, because I can use the time much better in making those guests happy that pay the right price at the right time to come to my hotel. And if I do that job and I leave you guys, you do your job, we're successful at both sides.
So you just touched on obviously guest experience, and we'll be having a couple of sessions on that a little bit later. Yeah, I know. I wanted we It is. We got Bookboost coming on later, talking about guest experience. But Fritz, I guess that's a lot of the sort of support that you give to hotels is helping them break down and understand this information and employ it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, the information is one thing, understanding it and putting it into place, both with your systems, which obviously there's a couple here, and with your own tools that you have to your own availability is the challenge. I couldn't agree more with Philip though. Common sense is still very good to have. As much as I like the system, sorry guys, you need some aspect of common sense and localness, especially here in a city like Berlin.
And Beonprice has an academy as well for helping educate and train revenue managers. So that obviously allows to improve that knowledge in a staged basis.
I mean, one of the things we found is that the level of implementation or knowledge of revenue management is hugely variable in different markets and different kinds of hotel. And I'm British. I'm very diplomatic. And we have a very sophisticated piece of technology about revenue management that we offer to our clients, and it's in our interest that the clients understand how the system works and how it thinks and how it takes decisions. So we have, within my area, we have the Beonprice Academy, where we offer training on the concepts of revenue management. So it's not training about which button to press in our solution, because you get that in a way. Mm-hmm. It's training on what is revenue management, what are the major concepts, what is the philosophy. And we think this is really useful because the level needs to come up. It's good for the customer, but it's good for us as well, let's be honest, because I often liken this to giving someone a Ferrari when they don't have a driving license. So we
could go well, could go terrible. It depends on the road.
and I also think very strongly, and Philip touched on this, we have revenue management technology, but we're also giving you our expertise. And I think that when you're looking for a technology partner, you should not just look at their technology. You should also look at how they're going to help you. Are they going to support you? Are they going to be there? Are you going to learn from them?
Is it a partnership?
Exactly.
It's a partnership,
and we even, in some cases, have talked to people and said, we don't think that we're the right people for you right now. Because we want to have partnership. And maybe it takes a bit longer, and maybe we have to put more effort in. But hey, that's in the long term, I think that's in everybody's interest.
I mean, yeah, revenue management. I mean, 10 years ago, I remember sort of like there was nothing being talked about revenue management. And now only just starting to talk about online distribution, which we'll come to in just a moment. But Vladimir, I mean, when we're looking at pricing and we're looking at trying to sell more, sort of how can we sort of use like perhaps general pricing and then the upsells, and what sort of advice are you providing to hotels?
Well, let me start with the advice first. I was operational revenue manager during 9/11 events that many years ago, and that was a disaster. We learned a lot since then as hoteliers, and I don't think that we learned anything new. I think what we've learned is that we need to remain hoteliers. You need to look after your client, after your guests. They will come back. Even if it is not the same one who stayed at that time, they will talk to their friends and they'll say, oh, this hotel was great and they looked after us. You can trust them. With respect to upgrades and upsells, I mean, you need to make it interesting for your guests to come and stay with you. If you're just another place where they can put their head down, have a little bit of breakfast in the morning, you're just another hotel. You're not making yourself being the center of their journey, of their stay. The upgrades, and particularly the specifics of your hotel, what you can offer them to your guests so they can feel really at home in advance of their arrival, and then execute it to the point when they arrive, makes them feel that you care. And so all the rest of the stuff that we were talking about follows with that. Guest experience and guest satisfaction is your key to getting a better rate. That's the bottom line.
And so really, it shouldn't be like throwing upsells in people's faces. It should be done gradually. It should be done through their each individual's needs.
It needs to be done to what we call all products need to be tailored to the specific stay of this guest. You don't want to offer your Easter package to someone who's staying over Christmas, and this is what we're seeing at the moment in the industry. So tools like Upgrade 2 allow you to be very, very specific about the stay of the guest and make that the center of their experience with you. Millennials nowadays are looking for experiences. They don't look at anything else. So make the stay in your hotel an experience. This hotel is an excellent example. Excellent example. It is an experience to be in this hotel. So in many ways, having additional services, having additional products, offering them the Segway. Someone mentioned the Segway here. Offering the guests the Segway, and they can pre-book it already before their arrival, and having it waiting for them at the desk when they arrive, so they can immediately leave their stuff and go out and explore the city, is an excellent example of how you make your hotel very, very relevant to stay with their guests.
And it's also about distribution. Distribution has changed so much in the last 20 years. I mean, Booking.com didn't exist then. And over the last 15 years, it's become stronger and stronger and stronger. Hoteliers are trying to figure out how and what to do with it. The wholesale market has changed dramatically. You've gone from fixed rates and fixed contracts to becoming much more agile. When people used to go and book hotels, you used to try and look through the yellow pages, or you were visiting a travel agent.
We're not that old.
What is the yellow page?
This is obviously it's an A to Z of everything that's anywhere. It's the offline Google, yeah, exactly. And so with distribution, it's changed so much, and there's a lot of need to drive that brand and direct booking. How are you handling the distribution here at the student hotel?
Well, distribution is...
Booking.com.
Have you heard of it? I know that they were here today already to see how we're doing. No, distribution has drastically changed, and I always put it like every disruptor does the same with the old players. They put the mirror there and say, look, I'm quicker in what I do, and I'm a bit better, and I'm a bit closer to the people who use you. And I love, just aside, I love English cabbies. Those guys, they were rude like all my life. When you've been there, you couldn't talk to them. You just put money, and if you're lucky, they were looking at you. It's really true. And then all of a sudden, you had that Uber impact, and these guys, friendly, opening doors, chatting to you. Do you want to talk? Is the heat nice? I'm like, that is exactly what a disruptor does. So there's good and bad sides and on both stories. So, but Booking Hotel delivers us, and what they should deliver is those guests for a small brand that don't know me, and that just looking for a hotel where they put some filters on. So they're like the yellow pages in modern, in quick, and in very, very highlighted and in nice colors. So if you use them in what they can do, they're a massive impact to your business. I'm not talking specifically about Berlin. Berlin is a market with around 75% coverage by online travel agents. Being like this market for Germany, I don't think that, you can have small hotels with 10% coverage of them, but if you really drive about business, the big hotels, they have they use them heavily. So make the best out of them, what they can do. And I'm talking, for example, about geo-targeting. So I was years in a huge company like Accor, and it was strictly prohibited to do anything bad with them. So I did deals with, if there was a national holiday in Finland or in Scandinavia, which is a good market for us, I put in a promotion on Friday when the offices in Munich had left. And I hope nobody looks now. So, and when they came back on Monday, the promotion was off. But over this period, it drove me business from a market that I couldn't approach at that time. So using those distribution channels in the way that they should supposed to, that's what we should have to do. And then accept that they're better. They have the better website. They have more clicks. So why should you bother with that? Have a good website yourself for this business that are your raving fans, and they want to book with you because they love your color and they love to click there and they have a profile. But for those who don't know you yet, be ready, have the nice pictures there and use them. Don't think that they will go away. Like they won't. That name will change, but when it's not Booking, it's tomorrow Google or Facebook or whatever. It's the same names that they do similar things. So use them what they can do. That's what I do.
So what advice are you giving to hoteliers when it comes to actually their distribution and who to distribute with, and what are the online travel agents to become friendly?
Well, big question there. I think I couldn't agree more with Philip. I think it very much depends on the region you're in. A city like Berlin, traditionally very heavy and very dependent on the OTAs. Also a city with huge fluctuation in the rates. I remember one of the very first time I met Philip, we talked about revenue by chance. And he said to me, well, it's unbelievable that we're in a city where you can get a 5-star hotel room for 99 euros a night in an off-peak season. I don't know very many European capitals where you can get a 5-star hotel room for 99 euros a night. So that just on a side note, I think the distribution has gotten a lot more complicated for hotels also to understand, which I think is a reason why there's companies for the most part that are sitting here to justify these companies, because they help understand what the hell is going on, and it's not exactly getting easier. All of a sudden, you have Google, was traditionally a tech company, who has understood that there's a lot of money to make in the travel industry. So be sure that they're not stopping, and they will come. I think the biggest OTA to look out for is Airbnb at the moment, for very obvious reasons. It's not by chance that they bought a company called Hotel Tonight. And they are certainly not doing that because they had a couple of million to spend and didn't know what to do with it. They understand that in order to become a full service provider for accommodation, and it doesn't matter whether that's the typical Airbnb or whether that's a hotel room, they need to expand their portfolio the same way Booking.com is doing it in the other direction. So,
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, Expedia bought HomeAway in 2015, so they're all sort of getting into these different markets.
So, but I think at the same time, Ryan, I think that's a good thing, because it is showing that the competition is there. I think the times where we were scared that Booking.com was going to rule this market at some point, I think that's a little bit over, because there's others that will join. I think Expedia HomeAway was a very clever move. It was obvious that Airbnb was eventually going to come, and I'm pretty sure that Google is going to be in the mix as well. So there you have 4. And if you ask me for my professional advice, I don't really have one, because it depends on the market. I know a lot of hotels that work with Airbnb, again, mostly in European capitals, and it works extremely well. Whether that's something I should probably be saying on the air, I'm not so sure, but it's a member, and I think that's that. I love that reaction from you. I hope the camera maybe saw it, because I think that's exactly the reaction you need to have. I think the worst part about this is hoteliers that don't have your reaction, that think it's Airbnb, I don't want to deal with them because it's Airbnb. I think that's the biggest mistake you can make.
I mean, what I find interesting is when you talk about geo-targeting, because we've been so international, and I think maybe we've become a little bit too dependent on the Asian market, who are currently grounded. They're not going anywhere. So how do we redistribute?
So it's quite easy.
Yeah, exactly. You can only get here by train, which very few people know, or walk. Those are the two.
But talking about almost disrupting your own distribution, Neville and I were having a conversation earlier about a hotelier that had actually decided not to distribute any longer on Booking.com. Tell us about the experience that this particular hotelier had.
This was an event that I was in yesterday, actually, and there was a hotelier there who shared his experience of what they've done. It's a hotel in Berlin. I'm not going to give the name. I'm sure they wouldn't mind, but actually I can't remember.
There was a good name. We won't tell anyone.
And this hotel, for various reasons, it closed out availability on Booking.com. And what happened was they had no loss of revenue at all. And they had a slight increase in profitability. And what they saw was a large increase in their direct bookings through their website, and also an increase in other OTAs. So I thought this is a very interesting experience. But what we were talking about, Ryan, earlier was this really depends on where you are.
How long did you do that?
Since September.
Until now?
Yeah.
We tried the same, it didn't work in my hotel.
But I actually think this really depends on the hotel. And it really depends on the destination.
Location.
Because if you're in an independent hotel in a secondary or tertiary destination, where are you going to get your business from? Where's it going to come? Are you really going to get it all through your website? No, you're not. Or wholesalers. So what I think in general is there's often a very binary conversation about direct booking or OTAs, but it's not that simple.
True.
You need both of them.
Yes.
And you should be working on both of them. And what you need to have is an integrated distribution strategy where you see every channel, what value it adds, and how am I going to use it? And a mix, exactly. What's my ideal business mix? And what's my ideal channel mix? And what's my ideal account mix? And this is the kind of revenue management that is proper revenue management. And
the only way there's revenue management.
That is revenue management.
And spending time messing about changing your price for next Wednesday, technology can do that for you.
For tomorrow.
So,
All for tomorrow, absolutely.
So, I mean, I think distribution is very complex, but I think we really need to think about it in a slightly different way.
But can I add one thing on that? Because it's interesting to hear. So we tried in my old hotel the same thing. So by limiting booking for a time, not having rooms available, led to that the hotel was not fully booked, because what we felt is like the last rooms will never be like sold over your own website. Usually they're coming through whoever just looks for that. That's the one thing. And the second thing is, I just want to add, it works when mice is not a big factor in your hotel, because it's an unaccountable business, and a mice booking usually has, in terms of revenue management, the highest value. And I always say that the same revenue management should include F&B in total, because there is that costs, my staff costs come from F&B in a hotel. So only looking at the rooms is quite good, and it's what the system can, but having a proper way of forecasting, driving business from mice, and then you're all set for revenue in total.
Exactly, and that's why you've got to start looking at that revenue in a more holistic way, because looking at just room revenue is relatively easy to do, because that's where our PMS and that sort of thing sits. Whereas bringing in ancillary revenues, whether it be mice, whether it be F&B, whether it be spa, golf, etc., depends on your property. I think that's really important.
This is a very interesting question. I completely agree with you. But this is a question about data. And revenue management systems use data, normally from your PMS and from some other sources. But we could easily do that for other revenue streams if we can get the data.
That's the point.
And it's hard to get it, or it doesn't exist.
And mice is always knowledge. You need you have the person
about take that data and turn it into something
and make it actionable.
Right, you can't stop.
Right, I know. You can't stop now. Can't stop now. This is a problem. I've got Enzo. I can hear you, Enzo. This is the crazy thing, because when you start talking about revenue, it can go in all shapes and sorts of directions. And then how do you distribute your upsells, and how do you follow up on those and make the most money? But I think what we're getting today is that if people are grounded from places that you're used to getting customers from, look at your distribution strategy, identify the channels that you perhaps can target other destinations, and in particular, maybe your own home destination, right? But yeah, as Philip says, call them. Okay, coming up at 4:30 will be a big announcement from Ideas. So we're going to have the founder, Sanjay Nagalia, on with us. And we're also going to have BD4 Travel personalization specialist, Andy Owen Jones, who's going to be talking about how to better personalize websites. But I'm going to hand over to the guys in the studio.
Hi, that's great. It was cool. Thank you, Ryan. I see Rita is already set up. Let me connect with Rita. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we do. And
Okay.
how your guest, let me pull your screen now up. 1 second, and stop Ryan. Ryan, so I'm going to close your panel. Thanks, guys. And
Thank you.
Rita, I'll see you later. Thank you. So, Rita.
Great.
That's
Great.
fantastic.
So the show must go on.
It's so crazy. I'm jumping from a venue to another one. It's going to be fun, really. I feel it's going to be really fun, crazy. But anyway, let's start. What your guests today, what they're going to discuss. Can you introduce them, please?
Yes, so I'm turning over the camera.
Yep.
I've got here from the row Martin from Apaleo, Isabel from Duetto, and Fabian from OTA Inside as well. And we are doing a little bit of on-floor interviews now with our panelists. So first of all, welcome guys, and thank you for doing this spontaneous interview with me. Can you introduce yourself a little bit and your company, of course?
Can I start?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm Martin. I'm one of the co-founders of Apaleo, and we are doing, in a classical way, a property management system, but looking at this more as of a platform approach. So basically, it's important for us to see the connectivity to applications, Duetto, OTA Inside, others, and make this very easily available to hotels. In my daily role, I'm typically working with hotel chains as a sales rep for Apaleo, but of course as a co-founder you typically jump from one to the other. So I don't know what 2020 and the future brings there.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabel and I'm from Duetto. At Duetto we do revenue management for hotels and support hotels in revenue management, so we're a revenue management system. Our main differentiator is something that we call open pricing, which enables hotels not just to optimize their daily bar rates, but really have a wholesome revenue strategy and manage that from a single platform, whether it's reporting or group optimization. We help you with that. And in my daily role, I'm a solutions engineer, so I mainly support the sales team in EMEA and do some internal troubleshooting as well.
So I'm Fabian from OTA Insight, and I'm also responsible for the business development for the German market, with a main focus also on Switzerland. And what we do at OTA Insight is basically we provide rate shopping and business intelligence solutions to hoteliers, and that ranges from all sizes, from the little guest house with 7 rooms to the massive hotels and the bigger chains. And basically our goal is to provide hoteliers with the right data, the prices of their competitors, as well as the internal data from their PMS system, and to merge that together to enable them to take the right decisions and seize revenue opportunities.
We are, of course, here at the mini ITB. How did your day look like so far? I mean, a great initiative collectively from the industry to react to that. How is the day going for you in general?
No, I really thank you guys for the initiative, because it was actually for us quite great. I think on Friday everybody was kind of a bit of shell shocked. There's a lot of work that went into this event, and for us it's really a great opportunity to have a space to meet with the people. I've sent a lot of emails out saying, oh, can we move stuff virtually? Can we meet here? And I actually spent the morning talking with the people who unfortunately couldn't make it to Berlin virtually, and now it's really great to come here and actually have that personal contact as well. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I can only mirror what Fabian is saying. Thanks so much for organizing this, and I think it's a great opportunity for those that have come to Berlin and are here, like myself, I'm based here. It's a great opportunity just to come together and keep alive a little bit of the spirit that we're missing from ITB, since there was a lot of work and effort put into coming here. And personally, I felt that there was a lot of build-up also, that it almost felt a little bit anticlimactic, which I feel this event is helping me kind of get over a little bit. So it's great.
Well, you are doing home office anyway, so it's a good way to get out. I mean, I'm with a 2-year-old 24/7, so it was like, I have to get out. So it's a great way to connect with like-minded people as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I also found it a very good response to last week. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I also find cool that the student hotel as well as Go to Order were doing this initially with some partners, and we were really happy to join this initiative. I think it's great to see that some of the hotels are coming out. I also find it very symbolic that it's mostly startups and younger companies coming together. Maybe show some desperation, but on the other side also some aspiration to really do something in the industry. And I mean, in one sense, it's good that people can now focus on technology, and basically, technology can help overcome this problem that you might have not as many bookings and so on. So I guess we are also in an interesting spot here to talk to people here, but also in the aftermath of this to see what's happening next.
Mm-hmm. Have hotels been coming to you asking for advice concretely? Have there been cases where you played a little bit of the consultant role for them, like now during the day?
So in regards to how to deal with this corona?
Well, it's not with the corona thing, but how to deal with their inventory and
Well, I think I think from our end, and this is maybe specific to PMS, I mean, you are at the core of the systems, so you have to make some investment decisions anyways. And if I, now go into an Opera cloud or upgrade some older system for 50,000 euros, or really start with something new, I think for a lot it gives perspective that there might be something else out there. And I think this is what people ask for, alternatives for something new and and fresh, and I don't think it's very much related to the current situation. But in general, we feel this in the industry, that there's this
moving more to an open platform, right? And it's not directly related to the current situation, but I think when we gave our buzzwords for 2020, one of them was transparency, which I heard a lot, and and also a lot of times open platform or open integrations, which you are, I think, if I speak for all the three companies, it's really much happening. So how do you see yourself as a new generation? You are transforming hotels' revenue management strategy on a daily basis. So how do you see this openness towards new strategies or integrations as well?
Yeah, I think that's a great topic, and something that definitely a lot of the customers at Duetto really deal with on a daily basis. One of the things that sets us apart also through our kind of open pricing approach, and of course also the connectivity that we have, it gives the user the flexibility to kind of go ahead with that full automation, which obviously is one of the big buzzwords for next year as well. But we also allow the hoteliers to bring in an element of their strategy to be able to react, especially in situations like this, where full automation might not be the route you want to go, because you want to react quickly and be able to make certain strategy changes that might be very different from what you've been doing in the past. So I know that yesterday I was on a call with some of our customer success managers, and they had put together kind of 6 ways that you can look at your hotel on Duetto and things that you can change that might help you get through the next couple of weeks. So it was a really great initiative from them to be able to speak to our customers and help them and support them with the technology that they have, and not just kind of go into a phase of scaredness and quick reactions without looking at the data and thinking about what they really want to do, not just in the short and immediate term, but also in the long run, to make sure that they're not making detrimental choices to their business.
And you are, of course, contributing to those choices. So what do you think about openness?
No, I think it was actually to go back to your previous question, is what if hoteliers asked us. When I was on the calls actually trying to reschedule some of the meetings for the ITV, I got a lot of questions saying like, okay, what are we supposed to do now? What have you heard from others? And I think it's actually bringing this community together, and might be even a good like a catalyst to engage in more openness. I mean, we have and to bring more transparency to it. We, from a rate shopping perspective, we like to, of course, connect with as many as possible and provide our data to as many hotels as possible for the best decisions. So we're going where like transparency for us is always great.
Thank you. And speaking of openness, we are here with Women in Hospitality and Travel Tech. I just can't leave this one out. And so you've got great women in your company. I mean, Tamara is here, Margaret maybe on the floor. Do you have any, concepts for company cultures to also show this openness from a diversity perspective, and having strong women like Isabel on the top line?
Yeah, so I think compared to traditional organizations, you have to stay away from hierarchies a lot. So that's something that we're fostering a lot with a founding team of 14 people, including some of them women, but also shifting now into a growth stage where we really want to have everyone be represented, everyone heard, bring in their ideas. I think it opens up to a lot of people, and it also attracts other talent than maybe a traditional company. So I think there's this career thing on the one side, but then the cultural communities thing on the other side. And I feel that in Apaleo right now, it's a very nice move. Of course, as you say, people like Margaret, Tamara, they show this, they symbolize this, and thereby also it's becoming obvious that it's a good choice or a good alternative to traditional companies. So I think from that perspective, you have to always keep everyone heard and make sure that you understand it, maybe also understand some of the things that you shouldn't do and so on. So it's a learning process at the same time.
You have got amazing women at Duetto as well. I mean, just speaking about, hi Benedict Olagnon. She's one of our mentors as well. Do you feel this diversity is,
Hi, can you hear me?
Progress? Yeah, definitely.
Hello, can you hear me?
Duetto actually pretty organically has this culture within them. I think in the London office, it's pretty much 50-50, if not maybe a little bit more skewed, some more women in the office. So it's a really balanced environment for male and female, and you feel that it really, you have the benefits from both sides, and people work together, and you kind of cover like a broad spectrum.
Can you hear me, Andy?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Really good,
yes, I do. One second.
Just productive.
Let me get in touch with Rita.
Yeah, and hi Benedict, if you're watching.
Hi Rita, can you hear me?
Fabian. Well, I had a big talk about employer branding and diversity with Manon.
Manon, exactly.
Yes, and it was a great conversation. You were obviously a company that also grew super fast. So how do you feel welcomed at the company, and which are the things that you see, okay, OTA Insight is actually doing for you in order to progress and fit into this culture very, very quickly?
Yeah, no, that's actually, I was just about to echo exactly what you said over there as well. When I joined OTA Insight, which was relatively
Just stay there, Daan.
recent,
Don't worry.
I was really surprised on how well they've dealt with that amount of growth, especially with offices now kind of all over the world. And we actually had a company meeting where we flew out the whole staff. I'm not sure if Manon mentioned it, actually, on to Lisbon. And I've actually met even people that I worked at previous companies with, that I was standing, I remember this once, Ashley, if you're watching this, but I actually met a colleague that I worked at a previous company with that I didn't know that she was joining, and I suddenly saw her there, and I was like, wow, this is just amazing to see people come back like this and meet people there again. And with regards to females also at OTA Insight, I think, and female power, I know from our sales team, I know the numbers, and sometimes I'm getting pretty scared of what they're signing, and I think that's really a good thing, and that's a position where we also need to be in, that you don't even have to feel you need to think about it so much, because it's just so normal as part of the culture.
Yeah, great. And after all, we are all a big family. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your day in Berlin. Enjoy the mini ITB, and I hope to see you very, very soon again. Thank you.
Thank you,
guys. And so, that was fun.
Yeah, good stuff.
Oh Gott. Ich glaube, ich mache jetzt auch einen Kaffee.
Huh?
I cannot actually hear you, but that's a technical issue.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So, how's it going? All good?
Great. We had a great company, and we were all, came to the conclusion that we are a big happy family, hotels and travel tech companies all together and coming together. So this event also shows how quickly the industry is coming together when something is happening.
So I see here on the waiting list Daan, Andy, and Heiji. So from BD for Travel. So which one of them should I open the channel right now for you?
Andy, let's see. Door number 1, Andy.
Door number 1. Hi, Andy. How are you?
That's scary. I'm very good, thank you. Very good. Nice to meet you.
So before you start, Rita, I also have Daan and Heiji. So should I put all of them, or are they jumping in the conversation right now?
So Andy was supposed to be doing a presentation on his own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and then after Andy, we start with Daan and Heiji.
Yeah.
Right? Did I pronounce correctly, Heiji or Heiji?
I think it's adding Ryan. Just looking at the
Ryan is
Ryan.
Yeah. So Dan, are you going to? Sorry, Andy, are you going to share something? Some
Shall I
slide?
share my screen?
Yeah, you have on a dashboard there. This call to actions. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Let me share that. Perfect.
Okay.
So
And I'm just going
hopefully-
to say bye and see you later for the later sessions with Muse and Challenges 2020.
Very good.
I'm going to also Ryan. 1 second. Hi, Ryan.
Hi there, guys. So I'm actually in one of the hotel rooms here at the Student Hotel. How fantastic and wonderful is this? Before we now move on to Andy Owen Jones from BD4 Travel, who's going to be talking to us all about personalization, which I understand now is the time for personalization, Andy.
Absolutely. If not now, when?
So are you going to talk to us through what it means, personalization, and how travel companies can adopt this?
Yes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about one-to-one personalization and moving beyond averages, segments, and binary testing. And it's part of a presentation that we were looking at doing at ITB, but I'll also be doing a fuller version at the Travel Industry Club in Frankfurt on the 26th of March. And really the idea here is that at the moment, a lot of people have been talking about personalization. And when I talk to a lot of our clients, the two things that are at the top of their mind are selling ancillaries and making extra revenue on top of the trip, and also using AI to deliver personalization to people. And we've had a lot of discussions with clients and so on. But what we find is there are some inherent limitations in the approaches that people have. And so I've titled this Moving Beyond Averages, Segments, and Binary Testing. And I think part of the reason for that is technology is now so powerful that if you have the right set of data, the right algorithms, the right infrastructure, and the right approach, you can truly start to achieve one-to-one personalization. But at the moment, we still tend to have a mindset of looking at averages, looking at segments, and looking at binary testing. And I just want to spend a little bit of time on that and then talk you through what we do. So at the moment, the status quo is that everyone who really looks at a site tends to have a very similar experience. That's not so true when you look at a site like Amazon, where you've got a big shopping history. But on a typical e-commerce site like that, maybe you've got 10 million or 1 million products in your store, or 100,000, depending on how big you are. And people shop a lot in these stores. So it's very easy to analyze shopping baskets and say, people like you also like this, or you might have bought this 1 week, so we'll predict you'll buy this another week. We can look at your book reading habit, we can look at your shopping habit and work out what you're after. But it's very different on a site like a travel site, where you might have 200,000 hotels, 1,600 airports, 500 airlines, 365 days a year, and you're soon into billions of possible combinations. And so people tend to default to price or to something that someone else has been on. And the net result is people tend to get the same experience every time they look at something. What we want to get to is a bit of a different approach, which is real-time self-learning and industry specific. And the way we do this is we try and listen to every meaningful data point that someone puts in, whether that's on a phone or through a tool like a website or an app or whatever. We capture every single meaningful data point to try and understand the context that someone's in and what they're really looking for. And we use that to measure and predict what people want for individuals. We try and, in the background, understand the entire product range that someone has got and work to experimentally put the right things in front of people and create learning loops. And I think if you're only looking at the end result of something where you've got maybe 100 or 500 bookings a day, you've got 500 learning points. But if you're looking at every single interaction that someone's got, you can create millions of learning points in a day. So we're trying to build up a profile of an individual user. What's important to them? Where do they want to book? Do they want to book soon? Are they in the early stages of finding something out? Or are they really getting ready to get the credit card and pay? How much revenue are they going to spend? What are they doing right now? So maybe they're on a business trip, but they could be stimulated to buy a leisure trip later. What would catch this particular person's attention? Are they security conscious at the moment? Do they want to go somewhere where there's no coronavirus? Or are they actually much more interested in the size or the cleanliness of the swimming pool? And then also, what did this person do so far? And it allows us to try and come up with different user experiences for each person that reflect what they do. And it's a bit like if you were to go into a shop and have someone talk to you, they would put the right things in front of you rather than just say the same thing to you every time. And if you went into a shop 10 days in a row, they would respect what you've said and come back with some concrete ideas. So the core things that we're talking about are looking at individual users and not just segments of people, looking at different product categories, so airlines, hotels, ancillaries, car hire, giving people the opportunity to cross-sell. And our experience in all sorts of branches of the travel industry at the moment is the market is increasingly setting the price that people can sell for, and people are going to make profit on the cross sales that they can make and the ancillaries that they can sell. So the better you understand the customers and the products you're selling, the more chance there is to actually make a profit. What we also want to do is give the ability to personalize the messages to people. So the examples in this set of screens are from Emirates, where we're working with Emirates to make sure that the things that are offered are relevant to the person in their context. At the same time, it needs to be real time. So if someone changes from checking in on their business trip to starting to look for a leisure trip, you don't want to offer them business type services. Or if they're going on a business trip, you don't want to offer them annual multi-trip insurance. It needs to be context sensitive, and also to get the balance right between something that's completely black box AI driven and something that's more open, so that you can start to influence these things. But we all know the limitations of business rules. You can't possibly cope with seasonality, massive quick changes, etc., if you're just relying on business rules. Our goal as a business is to help our customers be always relevant to each and every individual user and customer. And what we're really trying to do is take people away from the idea that they have to be average and show everything the same to everyone who comes, that they can only look for large segments like backpackers or families. But actually, we believe that if you really measure people down to the level of what they're doing in this context now, you can start to tailor your site or your channel or your app to meet that person's needs more effectively. So there you have it. That's our kind of story, and that's the kind of things that we were going to show at ITB. Really happy to be with you guys on the show now, and very happy to dive in and look a bit more at what we do there. Is there anyone else there? Hi, Enzo. Hi, there's me. Just in case you're still there, I'm very happy to pick up on what we've just been talking about. So, Ryan, are you on the side so that you can hear and jump in?
Hello. Yes, I am. Sorry about that. Having to a bit of a technical error there. As always is the way.
Not the bedroom.
So what you've been working with a series of different companies. You made an announcement recently that you've brought some new people on board, and you've got this experience recommender as well. So you're growing quite comfortably at the moment. There's a great opportunity here for travel websites, especially at this particular time, to really better perfect how they make their products available and present their products to the most relevant person. And you know, do you think that this is an idea that's now sort of catching on, or do companies really need to educate themselves on what personalization is?
I'd say both. So 6 years when we started talking about AI-driven personalization, actually no one was very interested. Now everyone's interested. And what we find is most people start off by having a look and then saying, that's great, we'll try it ourselves. They try it for a year, and then they come back to us and say, actually, we'd like to get the benefit of your experience. And I think the kind of thing that we see works very well is testing out a number of things, like making personalized recommendations to people. So we've tested out editorial content versus random content versus top-selling content versus personalized content versus, for example, people like you style collaborative filtering content. And what we found is that content that is driven by inference and probability scores better with customers, in the sense of higher click rates, people find what they're after quicker, the conversion rate gets better, and the average shopping basket goes up. So I'd say, although it was a bit disputable for a while whether this would work or not, what we found is the systems learn quicker than any individual can. So even if it's only performing as well as your team now, in a year's time, it will be performing much better.
And there's an element that it needs time to work. It needs time to understand. There is an implementation process. As you say, you're not an Amazon, you're not a retailer selling things on a day in, day out basis. So we're talking about peaks and troughs that go throughout the year with different markets. So it needs to learn, right?
And even on an individual purchase, people take between 6 and 8 weeks to learn.
Wow.
Yeah. 6 and 8 weeks to decide. And we saw one of our very large customers ran their marketing campaigns for 5 weeks. And it meant that they were recording the success of their marketing campaigns before the majority of people had actually decided what to do. They were making completely wrong decisions. And so that comes down to good attribution models, understanding people's purchase behaviors. And I think some of the statistics that you get out of people like Google, which are great statistics, but they say, for example, people are on an average website for 30 seconds and they go to 35 websites or whatever. What that doesn't reveal is they go onto a lot of websites and click straight off them. If you take those people out, a lot of people will spend an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours on a site, coming back again and again and again. And they leave you hundreds and hundreds of clues as to what's important to them. And if you can pick that up and respect what they're doing, you can put very pertinent things in front of them.
I mean, I can certainly see how it could work because, you know, I am a sort of person that will dither and dather when it comes to making a decision as to where to go and what to do. And I'll probably spend hours on a particular site backwards and forwards. And, you know, if you have to keep going back and you're having to do the same old searches over and over again in order to get to where you got to last time, you know, you've just spent a considerable amount of that time messing around when actually all you want to do is get to the website, see what you saw before, and then start making that more educated or informed decision.
I completely agree. And the way sites have been structured has led people to believe that they've got different behavior. So, for example, a lot of people will have one phone number on the homepage, another phone number on the search results page, and a final phone number on the booking page. And they think that people who are looking on the homepage are kind of looking for inspiration, but they're bookers if they get to the booking page. But the truth is a lot of people go all the way through the process and back multiple times. And a looker can be looking for inspiration and be on the booking page, but not yet be ready to book. Whereas a booker could be at the home page, coming back, or even a customer. What we've seen is a lot of the time, customers will come back 10 days in a row to your site to see if you've changed the price. And that's a bad time to try and sell them the same holiday. It's a very, very good time to try and cross-sell extras or to start understanding what that person would be motivated to do next time. And if you can reassure them and signal them that you're doing the right thing, then understanding where they are in that process is a really good thing. So just the understanding will give you a different flavor. But if you can start to amend what you do, so if someone comes in from meta search, they're probably further down the funnel. You don't want to inspire them so much. If they are an already decided user, you probably want to turn off your recommendations and inspiration, make the photos smaller, make the facts bigger, and give them a reason to buy this particular product.
And it's really about that experience. It's having that brand experience in which that customer feels valued or recognized in many ways. And your technology even goes so far as to connect the call center in order to give them a code that should someone be looking online and you know, they haven't given any of their details, but they're able to call and actually pick up that conversation with the travel agent. And it's one of the trends that we're also seeing is that typical or high street travel agents are not necessarily getting a massive resurgence, but they're still being considered by consumers, even the younger generations.
Absolutely. And I think there's almost an overload of information online. It's who do you trust anymore? And I think some people are going back to travel agents because they feel they can trust them. Some just because they don't have time to do all the research and it gets complicated to put things together. I think a few experiences like the volcanic experience with Iceland a few years ago and now the current coronavirus put into perspective the benefits of having a tour operator behind you so that you're not just putting together the components yourself. You're able to have someone who can manage a disruption, and that becomes increasingly important. But I think what we're trying to do is not necessarily automatically surface the right product, but really understand what is the right interaction that someone wants to have with your brand. And that could be exactly as you say, it's a call center interaction. It could be a WhatsApp interaction. It could be an email interaction. It could be changing the sort order to put the products in the right way. But essentially what we're trying to do is say, if you test out these things, you're never going to come up with precisely the right action. Let's try and understand what the customer wants. and what the customer would have as the very best experience, and make every effort to use all the technologies we can find to put the product in front of them or the experience in front of them in the best way possible for that individual.
Andy, I couldn't thank you enough for giving me an absolutely perfect link to introduce our next guest, which is all about experience. But Andy Owen Jones, thank you very much from BD4 Travel. I understand you've got some virtual showcases, showrooms. So people go to the website, I guess that they can sign up to those. Excellent. And that's bd4travel.com.
Lovely. Thanks for your help.
Excellent. Thanks, Andy. Have a great week.
Thanks, Andy. Right, Ryan. So before we open to Daan, let's take a few second break and then we jump on the conversation back again. All right?
Absolutely.
Back again. Hi, Daan. How are you?
Hi, Enzo. I'm very good. Thank you. How are you?
Coming for joining us. This is going to be a crazy live stream, so don't pay too much attention. Ryan is going up and down from the meeting room to the bedroom, and I don't know where he's going today.
Don't ask any more questions. Where will I end up next? The spa? The gym?
Right, Ryan. So we have 15 minutes with Daan. Then we have an important interview with Sanjay from Ideas. So
yeah, we have an exclusive announcement, don't we, Enzo?
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. And won't wait for that, man. So
4:30.
Let's go. Let's go.
Great. Thank you very much, Enzo. Okay. Hello, Daan from Bookboost. How are you doing?
Hi, Ryan. I'm very good. Thank you very much. And thanks a lot for having us today. It's a great initiative that you got going there on such short notice. And it looks like you're in a cozy room there. In the studio.
It's pretty cool, actually. I definitely feel at home. It's got a little chalkboard here as well, which is awesome. It takes me back to the 90s when we actually used to pin stuff on the board, or I used to blue tack. Anyway, Bookboost, a guest messaging platform. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, all right. So what Bookboost is, we enable hotels to build a personal relationship with each and every guest. And the platform consists basically of three basic components. It's a unified inbox at the core. So a hotel can use any communication channel that their guests use. And all those channels are centralized into one inbox that the receptionists usually use in the hotels. And then there's CRM functionality. And there's automation to be able to build a relationship with each and every guest. You need some part of automation because to do that at scale, that's not possible for hotels to do that manually. So we built the platform to do so, and yeah, we're very excited when a hotel succeeds to create a great experience for their guests.
And that's it. I mean, we talk about experience all day today, and really how you can build that brand and build those relationships with the guests. And it goes beyond just having repeat guests. It's about word of mouth. We already know that word of mouth is one of the best marketing tools that you can ever have. But it's also, where are people talking now? I mean, what's the relevance of email, say, versus messaging? I mean, why is messaging so much more important than perhaps just focusing on email?
Right. Yeah, what we see here that most of our customers use is that looking at the guest journey at different times in the guest journey, different channels might be relevant. So let's say you make a booking and check-in is in a few weeks, then it's kind of expected that you get your confirmation by email. Whereas when you start to prepare for your trip and you might be on the go already and you get a WhatsApp or a SMS, it's much more convenient for the guest, because it's a more instant channel. So it depends a little bit on where you're at in the guest journey, what channel is most relevant. And then also looking at hotels, obviously they often have guests from around the world, right? And in many different areas of the world, there's different common messaging apps. So our mission is to help hotels to get their communication and get their engagement on the preferred channel of the guest. Whereas for them, it doesn't really matter because, again, it's all from that centralized inbox. And it's a little bit that when the customer effort is very low. So we look a lot at airlines. So when you receive communication on a channel that you're used to, it's very easy to engage with with an organization, with a brand, and that lowers customer effort and increases the experience, increases loyalty as well.
I mean, I experience the same mainly when I'm using, say, Airbnb or here in Berlin, Mr. B&B. And, you know, the host is messaging me directly through the app and I'm receiving the messages. I'm able to respond immediately. And we've even shared WhatsApp just so that it's quicker and faster and more efficient. And you can see how that would make most sense for hoteliers who are working with the millennials and the Gen Zs who are more used to using instant messaging app than email, for example. Especially, I don't know what your email's like, but I'm bombarded on my personal and my personal email on a daily basis with all the newsletters or sites that I've subscribed to over the last maybe 20 years of having this specific email. So I guess the communications go straight, therefore, to the hotel and straight back to the guest without the guest having to search and find that information.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you describe it very nicely. And like, it's very much of, like, perhaps when you were back in school, sometimes in some occasions you would feel more treated as a number, right, than as a person. It's the same in hotels. You want to feel treated as a person. And when a hotel succeeds to get that across with each and every guest, they just create a great guest experience. And this is when magic happens, because guests will be more likely to provide you with feedback in case there's like something to improve. So a classic example here is that when a hotel sends out a message just straight after check-in, like let's say 50 minutes after check-in, you've just came into the room, that's really like a go, no-go moment because you're checking it out. You never get a second chance to make a first impression, right? So when you then get a message on the channel that you're used to, asking you whether everything is okay, whether there's anything that the hotel can do for you, that's giving you the feeling that the hotel is there for you and that they want you to have a good experience. And then when there's something small, like can be something silly that maybe you wouldn't walk down to reception to ask for it, this lowers the threshold. Whereas these little things can make a big difference, because when you create this great experience, guests are also more likely to leave you a positive review instead of going to TripAdvisor and complain about that little silly thing if they didn't have the feeling that the hotel wants you to have a good experience.
I must say I have been to a few hotels and there's not been a single phone in the room. And I'm like, the idea of going down to the front desk and asking them a question or, you know, should I look for the phone number? And then I'm thinking, well, how ridiculous is that if I'm calling from floor 4 just to floor 0 for a quick question? And, you know, messaging would obviously answer a lot of that. But I guess, as you say, it's everything from the moment of booking all the way through to in-stay and those questions, acting like a concierge when you need those informations, those frequently asked questions. And I guess, you know, does that mean you have automation to be able to help answer some of those questions?
Yeah, right. So building up a personal relation with each and every guest means there's a lot of data, a lot of traffic. And hotels are not able to hire more employees or are not able to increase the workload for their staff. So actually the great advantage is when you have this data on messaging, you can also use it to automate, because the system can learn, the system can recognize recurring questions, can improve over time, and this way automate most of the communication while remaining personal and keeping a personal tone to the guest. So that's definitely part of the solution at the core, yeah.
And I guess, you know, as well, you know, reviews are a big thing. So encouraging them to write reviews just before they leave. And that I understand from a few pieces of data that I've seen in the past, like Trust You, I think it is, you know, talk about if you request that review before they've even left, they often leave a more positive review than if they are to leave it once they've left the hotel. So it's having that, it's almost like having a conversation that you might not necessarily have in the hotel, because people just come in, they want to go to the hotel room and they want to go back out again. They don't want to interact necessarily with people inside. So it's having that flexibility. But does that take away, though, the service that hotels so much think as their unique selling point?
Well, actually, it provides a great opportunity to increase service, since, like, when you have the tools to get to know your guest. So as an example here, you can ask for in the beginning of the journey for a guest, when they make a booking, you can ask whether they want to receive any personal recommendation, local tips, etc., and on what channel. Well, if the guest then chooses not to engage, you know that that's not relevant for them. Whether if they choose to engage, you know that that's what they expect, and that's what would improve their experience. So then you can start an automated guest journey where you send that relevant information for that specific guest. So it's very much that based on what the guest needs, you send relevant information. And this is also really good because when you know that guests are more likely to want to receive perhaps offers for ancillary services, for instance, you can send relevant offers. Whereas compared to how some hotels do that today, where you, a few weeks prior to check-in, you just get a kind of like a catalog of services, right? Where probably most of it is not relevant for you. So it's very much about knowing your guest needs and using that to send relevant information. So it's a great opportunity actually to increase the service for hotels.
Yeah, and I guess it sounds like you can actually increase revenue whilst they're in the stay by offering them most relevant products. So it's not just about service, but also revenue opportunities that you haven't necessarily been able to achieve through email.
Right, exactly. I mean, you might kind of like explore opportunities, if that makes sense, because you get to know guests and you can send relevant info, whether that's service, whether that's more direct revenue related. That depends on what the guests need. So indeed, it gives the opportunity to increase revenue as well in some cases.
So who's been using your hotel? Whereabouts your product, your guest messaging platform, Bookboost? Who's been using it, and where can they access it from?
So can you? I'm not sure if I understood the question.
Yeah. Can you tell me what type of hotels you've been working with?
Right, sure, yeah. So we see actually a lot of traction at the moment in we call it concept hotel groups. So hotel groups that are building a brand, that want to do things a little bit different than others, perhaps, that want to surprise the guest. Because when you surprise the guest again, you create an experience, and experiences stay to the mind. Like when you visited a hotel and you're a few months further in time, what sticks to the mind is the feeling that you got when you were at the hotel. And when you do something different, when you create an experience, you play on that feeling. And this is like where we see a good product market fit for Bookboost at the moment.
Excellent. Well, thank you ever so much for joining us today, Daan. It's been great learning about guest messaging and how to improve that experience. And have you got any? In what way can people get in contact with you if they want more information?
Right. So the company is called Bookboost. Our website is www.bookboost.io. And find us on via the website or via LinkedIn. I'm sure there will be ways. And thanks a lot for having me today. It's really exciting. I'm thankful for that, and great job on getting this pulling this off so short notice. And have a great day in Berlin.
Wonderful. Thanks, Daan. And sorry, you couldn't make it, or all of us really couldn't all make it all together. And we all look forward to seeing the rest of the industry, hopefully very soon. Anyway, take care of yourself. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Daan. Thank you. Right, Ryan.
Thank you.
I see Sanjay already connected. So I'll switch off Daan and start in a few seconds with Sanjay. All right. I'll see you in a bit. Hi, everyone. Welcome back again. This is Enzo one more time with you. And please welcome Sanjay Nagalia. Hi, what are you?
Good morning, good afternoon, good day, everyone. Thank you, Enzo, for your introduction and for giving us an opportunity to talk about our new and exciting product offering.
Well, first of all, did I pronounce correctly your name? Sanjay, right?
Yes, Sanjay is pretty close. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Right. So where are you sitting, Sanjay?
I'm in my office in Minneapolis, Minnesota,
Right.
USA.
What time is it over there now?
It's 9:30 a.m., close to 9:30 a.m.
Right. So it's a good time for a coffee and stay on Funnel TV right now. So
Well, I'm on my third cup of coffee actually. So good. Still going.
Right. So really, thanks for joining us. I'm really glad to have one of the co-founder and chief operating officer of one of the most reputable, travel tech company in the hospitality industry, Ideas. And I know that you have some important announcement. Is about a new product launch, right, Sanjay? Would you like
Yes.
to share with us more details about it?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction, and you are being quite kind in talking about Ideas. Yes, we are very excited about a new product offering that I'm going to announce at the moment. So, as the leading provider of hotel revenue management software and services, we at Ideas are constantly challenging ourselves, our clients, and our partners, and the industry at large to think over beyond just the guest room. To do that, we ask big, tough questions, and then we put the best and brightest people to work to find the smartest solutions. Rooms is a fairly mature area of the industry in terms of technology development, which makes the gap in capability for other revenue streams even more apparent. And Ideas is going to close this gap. The hotel P&L covers all revenue streams, and to support this, Ideas will provide the means to forecast total revenue in one system. In addition, there are many strategic decisions to make during the forecasting process. This requires extra analysis around sales and marketing strategy, demand, channel, inventory, and Ideas will provide these tools in one-stop shop concept. With all that in mind, we've been hard at work, and today I'm excited to announce our latest product innovation, the hotel industry's first ever total revenue forecasting solution, Ideas RevPlan.
That's fantastic. I mean, I see that around the market there are a lot of leaders startup trying to jump in this vertical, but no one was able so far. Well, at least from what I've seen so far, to connect more kind of ancillary. Can I say correctly ancillary? Adding this kind of revenue within the room inventory.
The food and beverage, ancillary, but all areas, absolutely.
That's fantastic. So what was the impetus for RevPlan development?
And I referenced some of them a little bit earlier, but let me highlight a few.
Yeah.
Revenue growth through better strategic decisions, forecast accuracy improvement, and profitability are primary goals for any hotel company. For the past 30 years, Ideas has expanded what's possible for hotel technology and pushed the power of revenue science beyond the guest room. Over the years, we have observed our RMS clients using RMS forecasts as a building block for their room revenue forecasting. We also realized that there was a separate process for budgeting and forecasting handled in Excel. Working side by side with hoteliers, we have grown to understand the challenges they face when it comes to budgeting and forecasting, total revenue, and the level of error that exists, especially on the F&B side.
Okay, so and how those challenges are going to be fixed by RevPlan too?
Well, Ideas RevPlan addresses these challenges by providing highly automated processing power and precision at the optimal level of financial detail. RevPlan is the vehicle for hotel teams to achieve long-desired efficiency through superior automation and optimal workflow. RevPlan is scoped to be more than a financial forecasting system. It also covers reporting, intelligence, account contracting, and other decision support tools in high demand by sales and revenue teams. And it consolidates and harmonizes data across the entire portfolio, creating one source of truth and empowering leaders to build strategy and formulate tactics grounded in best business processes.
I see. Look, from my experience, I've been engaged in the revenue management in the past, and there was an issue always every time I was trying to collect data. There is a lack of data accuracy always in the PMS, and even it's a situation where it's even worse in for example in in the F&B, right? So how do you see this problem to be fixed? Why is it so difficult to get quality data from the F&B, for example?
Well, F&B is not one forecast. It is multiple disparate methodologies are required to complete the full F&B forecast. There are very different operational department types: room service, restaurants, bars, coffee stands, catering and conference services, etc. The opportunity to apply data standards to F&B across the enterprise is very limited. So any system supporting hotel forecasting must be extremely flexible while maintaining integrity. And one of the challenges, the first step in F&B forecasting is to converting the rooms forecast to a guest forecast, while obtaining an accurate split of resident versus non-resident walk-in guests to the outlets is quite challenging.
Yeah.
And the sheer quantity of data required in F&B reporting makes it very difficult to work with the manual environment. This leads to volatility, forecast accuracy issues, and it also impacts profitability. With a detailed, accurate forecast, forward-looking performance analytics which drive strategy, such as RevPAS or revenue per available seat hour or F&B spend per guest, some of these KPIs can be very easily obtained with a few very simple clicks in the system.
Okay, I see. Right, so moving toward profit optimization has always been a high aspiration for the industry. Two important steps to get there are now being tackled by ideas with RevPlan. So breaking down silos to increase access and visualization of all revenue data, and scientific forecasting with revenue data from all revenue streams. So
Revenue Plan moves ideas into the broader hotel operations community, and we are excited to support food and beverage, finance, and sales and marketing, along with revenue management teams. This wouldn't be possible without the team at Ideas and our valued clients. And I want to especially acknowledge many industry experts that we have first time used in Ideas who have worked for years and years in revenue management and other levels in the industry, including Heather Ross, Pia, Luca Bazzella, Alexi, and others. A big team which is supported by Ideas team to bring this vision to the hotel industry.
Okay. In the meantime, I was trying to type some of your contacts. So in this way, if anyone wants to know more about RevPlan, can get in touch on your email, info@ideas.com, right? So if I understood correctly, RevPlan is a module available on a limited base?
Right now, we are in heavy development, so it is available on a limited basis. We are testing with 3 or 4 lead clients. And once our tests are successful, we will make further announcements on general availability.
Okay. Right. So one more question, last before you leave. Well, you know that wherever we go on social and in a TV, wherever we go now, the buzzword is coronavirus. And of course, by looking at my industry, I see that, especially my country, unfortunately, Italy is one of the most shut country for this issue. And I see a lot of hoteliers dropping down rates, trying to do anything is possible to recover something. What are some of your suggestions based on this scenario?
The biggest advice we are giving to our clients is not to panic. And we are also utilizing some of the lessons that we have seen in our historical data from the 2002 SARS virus, and what impact it had on hotels and how quickly it recovered. So we are asking hotels to be patient, make changes in the current environment, so that by making demand adjustments so that the system can adjust prices to bring in the right thing. But when the demand comes, it will come back quickly, and travel will be back, and we want to be ready to account there. we are currently spending fair amount of time studying the impact on different cities at a time, like not even just in China, in San Francisco, in LA, in Seattle, and look at what we can do to help our clients.
Yeah, I see also in US it start to have a little bit it's going to be a little issue, right? So, and how you see the behavior of hoteliers over there? I mean, what's the perception in US differently from Europe, where the problem is bigger?
I think everybody is very cautious and watching. There is definitely an impact on some of the coastal cities, especially when the business is coming from the Asia Pacific, and they are seeing business being down. We are helping them with how to manage through the current environment. But mostly in the US, people are kind of watching what's happening, because it's not contained at the moment. So once we see signs of containment, then the actions will be slightly different.
Yeah, I wish so, and I wish this as soon as possible, honestly. Right, Sanjay. So anything you would like to add more about RevPlan?
No, we are very, very excited about this offering, and I think it will greatly help all the hotel companies and people at the hotel. And in a lot of ways, it could be fairly transformative to be able to forecast and budget your total revenue at a hotel level, and overall reduce the forecast error that you use in planning. So we are very, very excited.
Thank you. And with you. So guys, once again, if you want to know more about RevPlan, get in touch with the ideas. I just shown on the screen the email info@ideas.com. If you want to get in touch with the ideas people, well, they are very well known people, Klaus and Damiano, Sanjay, and you can get in touch easily with them through LinkedIn. So thanks again for joining us, Sanjay, and looking forward to see you once again on Funnel TV in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Enzo, for giving us this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. Bye. Thanks. Right, guys. So it's about 1 hour 41 minutes. We live. That's crazy. I told you guys it's going to be 4 hours until 7. I need a cup of coffee. So let me see if Ryan is ready. I'll try to connect with Ryan.
Hey guys, hiya. You need a cup of coffee. I need my lunch. It's still sat on the side since I picked it up about an hour and a half ago. So I haven't had anything but breakfast this morning. And I'm really looking forward to the beers at the end of today. Cannot wait. Anyway, while you go.
Also, Fiona is there. Can you hear us, Fiona?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Thanks for coming. And I see you are still in the room, Ryan.
Yes. Yeah, so while you go for a cup of coffee, we're going to talk all things tech. We're going to be looking at integrations and connectivity. We're going to be exploring machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data. And we've got 4 panelists who are going to be joining us. Well, not going to be. They have joined us. In fact, I dragged a couple of them from downstairs up here to be part of this discussion today. So thank you ever so much for joining us at such late notice. So joining us remotely, Fiona from the Hotel Network, right?
Hello, thanks for having me. Great to be here. Sorry I wasn't in Berlin today. I had planned to be, but I cancelled my trip. But it's great to be with the technology today. I can connect remotely.
Excellent. No, it's wonderful that you can actually be here and be part of this conversation. So tell us about the Hotel Network.
So we're a hotel technology company, and basically we help hotels to boost their direct bookings because it's all about personalizing the guest experience. I think a lot of hotels concentrate on personalizing the experience for the guests when they're at the hotel, but you've got to remember that right from the first time the guest comes onto your website, it's important to start personalizing that experience there. So this is what we're working on. We're working with over 5,000 hotels around the world, and we work a lot with machine learning, which is why I'm joining here today.
Excellent, wonderful. And here in the so-called studio, I'm joined by Clements from SiteMinder, Tony from Pace, and Stephen from Sciant. So let's find out a bit about those 3 companies. Firstly, Clements.
Cool. Yeah, excited to be here. Who is SiteMinder? So we are basically a cloud-based platform that helps you to attract, reach, and convert guests. In essence, our biggest probably known product is the channel manager that basically helps you to connect to a whole range of different distribution channels directly into your hotel software, your PMS. We do also create websites for hotels. We create booking engines. We work with GDS. So there's a whole range when it comes to online distribution. SiteMinder is a good company to talk to there.
I must say it's a company that has significantly expanded over the last 10 years, not just from channel management, but into a plethora, as he said, of products, and now is an Australian unicorn.
That is right. That is right. We're an Australian unicorn. We're working on being an US dollar unicorn as well. So really excited about the last round of funding. Obviously, that's something that is going to be like reinvested in our further growth. Big part of that growth, actually, that is also like pretty much fresh. We now have an office in Berlin, which we just opened. So actually just came over from our office. It's in walking distance over in Spittelmarkt. So obviously, like, we want to grow further, and we also want to cater more even to the DACH market. Hence also us now being present here.
Yeah, because you were meant to have a big office party this week as a launch. Did you have a photocopier ready?
A photocopy?
Yeah, well, you know, at an office party, we all need a good photocopier because you never know what you might end up with, right?
Fair enough. Party postponed, photocopy work in progress.
Okay, excellent. Let's make sure that we get that in place for the next party. And so tell us about Pace then, Tony.
Well, Pace is a revenue optimization system, a science-based one, which has a very innovative approach to pricing. We help hotels with business intelligence, with analytics, with diagnostics, reporting, revenue displacement analysis, basically analyzing where their demand is increasing in the future and suggesting rate increases where it's possible to capture revenue opportunities.
Excellent. And Stephen, so Sciant, where do you fit in?
So Sciant is a vertically focused IT solutions provider. We work primarily in the travel and hospitality and transportation and logistics spaces. And what we do is we focus on 3 key areas: systems integration, machine learning, and data analytics. And we feel that this unlocks the potential of our customers' technology stacks to allow them to do bigger and better things.
I mean, you know, this group here is actually quite a coincidence as we start talking about technology and integrations, because Pace works with Sciant and Pace works with SiteMinder, and integrations is quite key to your businesses. And we'll get a little bit more of a technical information from that in a moment. Over there with you, Fiona, how important are integrations and connectivity for the business and for the companies that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's critical with everything that we do today and what other hotel tech companies are doing today. Our technology is we help the hotels on their website. So this doesn't replace the booking engine, but it sits a layer of tools that sits on top of the booking engine. So we work closely with the booking engines to integrate our technology with them.
And are you finding that there's more demands when it comes to integrations, or the type of integrations that you need to do? Do you need to be expanding and looking at different partners to connect with?
I mean, I think in general, yes, our tool's very, very simple. So it's basically a copy and paste of a code into script. So it's not such an issue. But I worked at ReviewPro before, and sometimes integrations were more critical there. So I think it just depends on what your tool, your technology is. But in general, yes, the hotels want to have like a 360-degree view of their data, and it all has to integrate. Otherwise, it just gets in silos, and it's impossible for them to work with.
Yeah, now about 10 years ago, when I was working for Rate Tiger eRevMax, it was all about how many XML connections have you got? And I think that we were always in competition with SiteMinder as to where we were with that number. And it went from like just number of connections to having this 2-way connectivity. So how much has that played a part in the success for SiteMinder and especially around, is it the Hotel App Store?
Excellent question. So I think that's absolutely key also to our success story, not only to ours. I think like that's helping the whole industry. It's helping for a whole range of new companies to emerge. As Fiona just mentioned, like the silo solutions, like that's the past, right? There's a lot of legacy software out there and legacy systems. It's all about being able to have like 360-degree visibility, being able to measure. Where does the App Store come in? I think that's actually like taking it almost like to the next level already. So done with just integrating to certain channels or integrating to certain property management systems. So when we launched the App Store, the key idea was that although we would like to, we can't do everything. It's a bit of like best of breed approach. Yeah. So when it comes to revenue management, there's amazing systems out there. Yeah? One of them like sitting with us here. When it comes to CRM, there's amazing system out there. So we can't do everything, right? So we basically said, look, why not use the connectivity that we built up over the years, over the last decade, especially with all these PMSs, because that's usually for all the new companies that are emerging, that's quite painful, right? For them to offer their services, they need that connectivity. If they can't access the data that they get through the connectivity, essentially also from the PMSs, their systems won't work properly. So why not use that long-term build connectivity and open that space up, like let other providers in so they don't have to do that work that has already been done, and enable them to access that data via SiteMinder Exchange or the Hotel App Store. And ultimately, our customers, like the hotels, all the accommodations, benefit from all of those services, where we know that with this best of breed approach, there is amazing software out there, but it can only really work when they have access to the data. So the Hotel App Store is a step in that direction, opening up the space and leveling the playing field a bit.
And so this is one area that's been a focus really for Pace over the last few years. And as a young company, tell us how important that is and what attention you've been giving it.
Well, integrations are key for us as well. Obviously, commercially, it unlocks markets for us. Perspective from the other side enables hotels to use our technology. They tie up a lot of resources if you have to build them. So we're very happy to have Sciant as a company, basically where we can outsource that work. And we know to have a good partner on our side. I used to work for Snapshot, actually, which was all about integrations. They had 20 plus PMS integrations and actually tried to give exactly that product to the industry. Turned out that there were 10, 15 years too early. And then sort of it broke out into the different PMS app stores and SiteMinder. It's generally hugely important. Otherwise, we can't work. We need to have integrations with the operating systems of our customers. Of course, if you look at the detail, you have to look at the granularity of the data and if it's actually usable for what we need to do with it. But yes, absolutely, hugely important for us.
I mean, that was quite an interesting point you made about unlocking markets. Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Well, yes, there are each national geographic market has its local PMS hero, right? So Israel, Australia, they all have their own PMSs, right? And local heroes. So for us, it's hugely important to be able to work with these systems, so we can approach these hotels, and vice versa from the market's perspective, from the hotel perspective, they get a chance to really look at our product and be, with a view to actually being able to use it. So it's of course there's core markets where we have our core integrations with the PMSs that we work with in our core markets. But as we expand and look into different new markets, we sometimes when we have sort of a commercial situation where we have a new client, a new chain of hotels, a group of hotels that is using a new system, we need someone. We need to act fast, basically, to provide that service for us. And again, Sciant would be the company that we turn to.
Yeah, so I mean, it's in many ways, it's not just a technology connection, but it is marketing. If you are connected to these systems, then you know that you can speak to those hotels, and hotels can get on and start using the products that are connected to their existing systems.
For sure, because they see obviously the integrations and the products on the web page, and so they can actually then proactively from their side approach different service providers and software, because they know that if they actually have one of these cloud-based PMS solutions, it's a switch of a button, a click of a button, and then the data starts flowing into the direction of that tool. And then most of the times, 48 hours later, you can already start using that new tool. That's the magic of the cloud-based PMS world and cloud-based systems in general.
So moving then, therefore, to more technical perspective, the man who builds all these integrations, then there's different ways in which the industry is approaching integrations. So can you tell us about what sort of work that you do with some of the companies and how you approach connectivity with companies?
Sure, thanks. That's a really good question. So what we do is at Sciant is we integrate a lot of different systems, right? So we do some PMS integrations, we do some CRS integrations, we do CRM integrations, we've done GDS integrations, including ones that are handling billions of shopping requests every single month. And it gives us a nicely rounded view of the market, number one. And number two, if I'm just use Pace for an example. They're going to write an Opera PMS interface exactly one time if they do it themselves, right? Whereas we did a dozen Opera interfaces in the last 6 months. So we're seeing the same systems over and over again, and we're able to understand the best way that the system use cases fit together. And what do I mean by system use cases? So there's an Opera interface called Oxy, Opera Exchange Interface, right? Now, the way that Pace uses it for a revenue management system is you collect a bunch of data on the guests, like around a reservation and what did they spend, which would be called a folio transaction. And then you would basically send pricing back to the system. You also will collect inventory and availability, right? And you'll send pricing back to the system. And that's a typical RMS use case, right? But if you have a group booking system, you'll use the same Opera Oxy interface, but in an entirely different way, because you're probably doing bidirectional block management, you're probably doing bidirectional reservation management, and so on. And we have over 100 hospitality systems integration projects under our belt in the last 4 years. Many, and this is just different systems, not counting the same systems over and over again. So we're able to bring the benefit of that experience to our customers and help them get to market faster, reduce the amount of certification time that they need to be involved with, and so on. So we think it's really a win-win, because it allows our customers to really focus on what they are really good at, which is building revenue management systems that are breaking molds, instead of having to tinker around with why didn't the data come, or why didn't I get that reservation, or why can I not push this rate change?
I mean, this comes down to data again, isn't it? Access to data, having it being able to move around very quickly to be able to do what you want to do with it. Whereas, 10 years ago, we were downloading files from multiple systems and then trying to put them all together into a single spreadsheet. And you basically had to be an Excel specialist. And by George, the types of equations I remember seeing people do was just insane, to try to connect to different sheets in order to try to find the result that they're looking for. Whereas these integrations allow that data to be consolidated into one place, I guess, and pull and push as the system or as the end user, the hotelier, is able to use with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the great things about integrations, is that it's much more pervasive now than it was 10 or 20 years ago. Now, the unique thing about the hospitality industry is that there are almost no standards. Like, some people talk about HDNG, and some people talk, which is a 15-year-old effort as it is now in most of the cases. But ask any hotelier what a group reservation is, and you'll get as many different answers as you have hoteliers in the room, right? So, and then you look at this from the systems point of view, and it's kind of the same thing. So tying everybody together and giving the hotels a kind of a unified view is a really important thing. And as people become smarter with the way that they're using data, and we see CRM systems not only interested in reservations, but they actually are interested in what a wireless access points you, Ryan, were connected to in the different areas of this hotel, then they're going to know that you spend most of your time in front of the bar, for example, and they're going to want to send you on the spot, coupons or offers to get you to engage more with the service stack in the hotel. And those are I think that's the next 5 or 10 years of the hospitality industry. It's going to be fantastic.
One of the absolutely fascinating stories from Sciant is the Hotel Resbot. It's how you built that platform to not just connect with other systems, being able to access the data, but then read these emails. So Hotel Resbot, it's about how emails that come in requesting bookings that has the dates, and it's all written in an email format. And through machine learning, you've been able to identify what the request is, send that request to the PMS, check that there is the availability and what the rates are, and then send an automated reply to that person to then start confirming the booking, which is, mind-blowing. It's like future science. And so when we start looking, therefore, at machine learning, Fiona, in what way are you looking at machine learning at the hotel network, and how is that going?
Yeah, with the machine learning that we do is very much related to predictability. So it's what we call predictive analytics, where it's basically where we analyze millions of data, then we create algorithms and look for patterns in that data, and then there's an output from that, and which can predict things. So I guess the machine learning, it's whereas a human being can maybe analyze 10, 20, 30 different points of data, we're analyzing hundreds and thousands of different points of data to find these patterns, and then which makes it more accurate for what's going to happen. So we use it specifically, for example, we analyze for website traffic. Whenever when the traffic comes onto the website, we can identify low intent users and high intent users. So who are the people that are likely to book, who are the people that are not likely to book? And then based on that, we can show them personalized messages. So for example, if somebody's a low intent, so they're very unlikely that they're going to book, what you need to do is probably give them some sort of incentive or a nudge to encourage them to make that booking. So it might be a discount or a special offer, 4 nights for the price of 3 or something like this. Whereas if it's a high intent user, the last thing you want to do is to give them a discount, which is going to reduce your ADR. And it's probably the opposite. You want to be able to show them the suites and encourage them to spend more, because it's very probable that they're going to book anyway. So that's how we're using machine learning mainly today at the Hotels Network.
Yeah, so you're really bringing that level of personalization as people are going through that booking process to make sure that you're delivering them the right product at the right time with the right price, and then taking them on that journey to drive that conversion. And is that conversion so that you're speeding up the process, or conversion so that you're trying to increase the revenue or the profit opportunity from the visitors?
There's different axes. And the main thing is to increase the conversion rate. So that's obviously increasing your revenue, because we know that it's pushing up conversion rates by 30-40%. So the traffic that you've already generated through your paid campaigns and all your digital campaigns and everything, you're converting that. So that obviously is improving the ROI of your marketing campaigns. It's also, a lot of it is to do with cost savings. So whereas people would typically do a 10% discount for a promotion across the board so that every single user sees that, we can identify that for the majority of your users, you don't actually need to give that discount. They're going to, so it's also the savings that you make on your marketing promotions and your marketing spend. So there's different combinations.
So really taking that tailored approach to each booking as well. And so a lot of the companies that are really well on the hotel app are starting to use machine learning. And what sort of conversations do you have with some of your partners, or even hoteliers around their concept of machine learning, and where we see things are this year, the next couple of years? I mean, is this something that's going to be a little bit more difficult to latch onto, even though we might be using the Alexas?
Yeah, good question. To be honest with you, I think machine learning, it's a real buzzword, right? And what really stands behind it, you're gonna get a lot of different ideas depending of whom you talk to. I think that the main question that usually comes down to is how can this actually be made useful, and how can you generate something out of it? And it's true, a lot of our partners are looking into this, and they're actually finding different ways of making machine learning work for them. I think and I think it was already mentioned this round, we're just at the very beginning of this, right? It's actually amazing of the ideas, and just imagining like what is possible, like with being able to analyze so many data points. So like we can only imagine all these great services that will be a result of that, which ultimately will have to be something that benefits the guest, right? Otherwise there's no point. Or if you look into the B2B area, like make the life of a hotelier easier, increase the bottom line, save time, make something more efficient. So that's what it ultimately will lead to. Now there's a myriad of ways how to approach it, limited only by our imagination.
I mean, yeah, I mean, for me, what it comes down to is I don't know anything about this sort of technology, by the way. People talk to me about it and I find it fascinating, and I just retell stories. So don't expect me to be any expert here. But for me, it's almost like the internet. If you ask people 20 years ago, what is the internet? We had an idea that it was an information portal. No idea did we think that we'd be downloading apps and be tracking people all the way around the world, or being able to personalize things in a way that we are doing it, let alone being able to have video chats wherever we are. It's the concept of AI, where I'm standing, is as much as you say, what's your imagination and where can you take it? How can you utilize it? So with Pace, currently, how are you approaching AI and machine learning, and how much is that machine learning a real part of your systems?
Well, it's very much part of the system, and that's what sets us apart from other revenue management systems. And I'd use your story. 15 years ago, hotels wouldn't probably have dreamed of a system that would, just by looking at their own transactional data, be able to get so much information out of it to be able to forecast and to predict which days receive an increase in demand, and then should suggest a price and the right price increase. So that's what we do basically. So in a nutshell, Pace in the ramp up time and the learning time, it actually looks at the hotel data, measures price elasticity, looks at a whole range of data points, seasonality, day of the week seasonality, and creates models basically. And these models are being enriched, and this is where machine learning comes in, right? So we close that loop of revenue management where we look at information, we analyze, we forecast, we implement prices, and then we monitor what happens. And then in the old days, that loop actually wasn't a loop. It was just a process that stopped right there. Well, we closed that process into a loop where we feed back information of the result. For hotels, it's the pickup that resulted from a certain pricing decision. So the system will get that information back. Did we actually sell with this price as much as we expected we would sell? And if we didn't, the system will adjust that and will incorporate that into its models. And the longer it runs with the system, with the hotel, and the more information that runs to do it, the more accurate and precise it will become. So that's basically how we utilize machine learning. There's, of course, the concept of reinforcement learning as well that we're implementing. And currently, we're working on actually being able to clone certain hotels and revenue management procedures in hotels to be able to show clients and showcase clients, this is how your result if you price it on your own, and this is your result when you let Pace run on autopilot for a month. So actually basically doing an A/B test and being able to visualize the result between their own doings and then letting the system go. So
I mean, machine learning's really starting to filter into all areas of business, and this idea of robotic process automation, of being able to take something from one system, something from another system, being able to process that information and throw it back through those systems again, and then learning on how that can then improve efficiencies and operations within the business, which, you know, the days of downloading different spreadsheets and being able to consolidate them, all that's gone. You just have to make those creative and strategic decisions of what to actually do with that data. But when it comes to actually advising and consulting and developing new machine learning capabilities for different businesses, how are you approaching that, Stephen? Because, I mean, where does a conversation start? Are you often working with techies who really know machine learning and they're excited by actually getting it implemented? Or are you speaking to people who have an idea, an imagination of what they want to achieve, and machine learning is what you use in order to achieve that?
I would say it's more towards the latter. The reason is that if you look at the high demand fields right now in technology, machine learning and AI talent is really the supply is way underneath the demand right now. Okay, so those people know that they can go get a job anywhere, and they can get a job that they really, really like. And so giving them a challenging environment, they're often younger people too that are recently out of university with advanced degrees and so on. So giving them an environment that they like, that changes a lot, that challenges them and so on, is really, really key. And it's exactly the same reason that it's difficult for, say, some hotel companies, for example, and others to be able to retain that talent. So if you have an exciting product that's using machine learning in innovative ways, like the folks at Hayes do, then you can find and keep that talent. But if you have exactly, sort of one project that you need to do internally, and then you sort of need to just keep it going for a while afterwards, it may be a lot easier for you just to work with a solution provider that has the machine learning capabilities on the team. The second part of it is really business awareness. So you have to understand what the business actually wants to do with machine learning. What do they want to accomplish? What does the data set look like? And also, what is their take on it? The company A has a certain objective and a certain way that they want to take advantage of machine learning, and it may be the same product as company B, but they have an entirely different approach to it, and you have to account for what's the approach and what's the business objective. So that's an area where when you do machine learning projects over and over again, like we do, we kind of develop a methodology to engage with the customer, tease out, you can hear on the surface what they want, but you really need to tease out, well, what do you really want? What's really important to you? It's all part of the process of figuring out a way to deliver a successful project.
And as you say, I mean, the hospitality industry in itself, or even travel, because of its peaks and troughs, is quite unique in the types of data that you have to work with, and what needs to be pulled and how it needs to respond. And I guess if we look now more towards, how do you identify the next things to develop? I mean, Fiona, the hotel network, how old is the business now?
It's 5 years old.
Right. And so when you're working and talking to customers, I mean, one of the buzzwords is digital transformation, and well, that's probably as vast as machine learning, right? So when it comes to working with your hotels, where are they when it comes to looking at the tech stack and either updating their overall IT infrastructure or responding to these new needs of travelers and guests today?
I think it's basically two different areas. I think it depends on the size of the company. So you see that the bigger hotel groups are obviously tend to be much more advanced than, say, a smaller chain or an independent hotel. And then it also depends very much on the market, where you might have markets like the UK and North America who are much more developed. And then there would be certain markets in Asia or elsewhere where it's not the case. So we've seen that the difference depends really on the size of the company and then the markets that they're working in. So when we approach development, it's not so much, we don't sort of start, we have an in-house team of data scientists who are the geeks and the specialists in the whole data side of thing, but we start more by talking with the hotels to understand what are their pain points, what are the challenges they're having today, and then based on that we try to come up with solutions that will help them solve those issues, and then we speak to the data team to tell us, to help us find solutions to turn our ideas into things that actually work.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the whole hotel industry, as you say, there's so many different places. Hotels are at different places when it comes to transformation. Totally, yeah. I mean, I know that Accor and Hyatt and oh my God, who's the other one? Best Western and others have really started to invest as massively as they possibly can do in how they deliver that digital experience. But actually, I
find sometimes the medium groups are more advanced, because sometimes the bigger groups, they're such huge machines that to actually make changes, it's a much more complicated and long process. And if you have a smaller chain of maybe 50 hotels, they can be much more reactive and much more flexible in adapting new technologies. So I've actually found in the years I've worked in this that it is quite often it's actually the middle-sized chains that are the most innovative.
And you've certainly got more smart hotels now as well, that their whole premise is based on that digital, that technology experience. And so when it comes as well to that SiteMinder and that growth and looking at how you can support the hotels as you enter new markets, there are those legacy systems out there. How much is a conversation based around these older systems, or them actually thinking and actually really considering and ask a SiteMinder's advice about some of these newer cloud-based systems? Do they have confidence?
Well, it really depends of where they are in their journey towards digitization. So this is probably like a question like very tough to answer in general. So like it highly depends on the market, and then given specific market, like we're in Germany, look at city versus rural, look at of course like size, like how many keys do they have. What we do see, and I tend to agree with that, is like that big chains are big chains, and they just do their own thing. They also try to do a lot of stuff in-house. They would only give that up or like take different directions if really needed. And any provider is bending over backwards to somehow get in business with them. What gets very often overseen, if you think rough estimate, like a million hotels worldwide, out of those, like chains maybe 10 give 20%. So like all the remains, like all those other kinds of accommodations, right? And it comes down to like, the little 1-bedroom apartments that we now can book on Airbnb and all these other like vacation rental platforms that are like growing immensely, but that are being like amazingly under-catered, right? It's like almost nobody cares about those 800,000. Like recently you can see everybody's jumping on a train and everybody's talking about, let's talk about, like short-term rental and the whole sharing economy. The truth is that those entrepreneurs, those hoteliers are often a lot more avant-garde, and they're more willing to try out new things. They are much more likely to be already like, digital natives, or that see the gigantic benefits of just like working smart and using all of those like buzzwords in a functional way that we already mentioned in the course of this conversation. So I would say like a lot of innovation is also coming like bottom up from those smaller providers. And obviously we also like cater, and we are dedicated to that smaller and independent segment, if you will, to those 800,000 properties that need the services and that actually like keen. Same time, just to complete my answer, there is, of course, when you look at rural destinations, there is a lot of legacy systems there, and it's also like this run place like a habit, right? So it worked like this already for the last 20 years. Why should I change, right? And that's like, that's very early days in the conversation still, as they know that there's systems out there, but that change process of them adapting to something new, that can take a very long time and can take a lot of effort. And although basically they tend to agree with you, making the actual change is still another step to go.
Yeah, I mean, Airbnb definitely disrupted the market, and we're seeing that with the purchase of Hotel Tonight. What's that going to mean to hotels? But also that it was a brand new system. I worked at HomeAway at the same time that Airbnb was becoming a massively strong. HomeAway was trying to move to a single platform. Airbnb had already created the platform. And I've been to a few short stay shows in the last year, and the technologies, they've got channel managers, they've got revenue management systems, they've got all these door locks and integrated technologies, and you're thinking, but you're just a 1-bedroom apartment. How do you have all this? This is insane. And we look at pace. Revenue management systems, they're really relatively new for hotels. They were a part of other systems, but now you're seeing them really come up as a distinctive system unto itself. And so how is that understanding of what revenue management optimization platforms are and how hoteliers are getting their heads around the need for that?
Well, there's generally in the industry, it's mind-blowing how little hotels actually are using technology for forecasting demand and for pricing. But the ones that do actually have been using it for a while, it's just that it's gotten more accessible with the new tools that are on the market. And tools like Pace are very easy to implement. They're very light solutions. It takes 48 hours with some cloud-based PMSs, and then you got it up and running. So that makes it much easier to start working with an RMS. Now, that obviously changes when you look at legacy systems, right? It takes longer to integrate with them, to activate the connections. It's costlier. So we see a lot of new projects that are coming onto the market, and new hotel groups that are coming onto the market to look at cloud-based PMS technology right away, not so much for the sake of operational efficiency, but also with the goal of enhancing the guest experience, because they have a goal of automating a lot of things, and that's only possible in a cloud-based environment because of the integrations and that they have with periphery systems out there. So we see a clear dynamic, but absolutely, you're also right. We also see a lot of hotels that are just not ready. And if they are getting ready and thinking about it, it's for scaling reasons, because they want to grow and increase their size, the number of properties, and that is much easier, obviously, with systems like Muse and Apaleo, where you can simply clone a hotel and then create a new one. Whereas if you have a legacy system, it takes you a couple of months to wait for a license, probably. Yeah.
And so, Stephen, you also deploy some technologies within hotel environments. And, is that a challenge? Are you dealing with really old infrastructures that need this specialist attention? And this is why they can't do it themselves. So, I mean, you've been in the industry for a while, so you've obviously seen the maturation of the tech stack. So, do you think that they're moving fast enough, or they really need a bit of a kick of the butt? Kick up their ass. I'm losing words after broadcasting for a couple of hours.
That's a really good question, and I'm going to have to think carefully about how to answer this one. But I remember doing a project a few years ago, and it was an on-premise PMS, and I'm not going to name the company, but it had been 5 years since PCI was enacted. The payment card industry standards about things that you're not supposed to do, like, wave a guest credit card number and photocopy it and, stick it on the wall behind your desk and stuff like that. And yet we were working on a non-PCI compliant PMS that was deployed at a major European hotel group. And the owner just would rather pay the fines and pay the increased transaction cost than actually spend the upgrade, because it was like a couple million euros just to upgrade a handful of hotels, right? So there is a lot of that in the industry. And I think that one of the things that is really cool about the new cloud environments is that they do take a lot of this pain away. You don't have to worry about the upgrade. Everything is just upgraded on its own. But there's also a lot of process transition that has to come into place to do that. The PMS is a core part of the operations of a hotel, and there's a big leap of faith in, because if that internet connection were to go down during morning checkout, you would have a lot of problems. Getting back to the point that you made about what are the challenges of taking access and so on to a non-property system and doing an installation or doing maintenance or something, the environmental issues are very real. So if you have a PMS that's running on a 10-year-old Windows server and it hasn't had an upgrade for a while, you will have a problem. Whereas the next hotel, maybe they got a new server last year and it takes you 10% of the time to do the work, right? So that's another plus for the cloud environments. But there are always going to be security people that are going to say that if I can't control each and everything, then I don't really want to have it in my stack. So it's a bit of a religious argument in some cases. But I'm confident that legacy stuff, that on-premise stuff is going the way of the dodo. In 10 years, we'll be looking back and going, I can't believe we actually had these
Wonderful. Yeah, I guess it's also like having a landline. Who would have thought? In fact, I don't even have a cable internet at home. I use a SIM card. It's so good. So yeah, it's all going to be wireless before too long. Fiona, are you still there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can indeed. So any final points or thoughts of advice to hoteliers when it comes to sort of technology and what to be thinking about?
I think it's, as with many things, there's an expression here in Catalonia, which is poc a poc, which means bit by bit. And I think they shouldn't try to transform everything all at once. And it's probably just best to take things bit by bit and to do small tests. A lot of the technology today, as you mentioned, you can do A/B tests. We always do A/B tests with all our new clients, so they can compare exactly what they were achieving before the website was personalized, and then what they were 50% of their traffic see the personalized experience. So I think it's all about doing simple tests, things that they can measure and see how it's performing for them, and then gradually it's integrating things bit by bit and gradually building up their tech stack.
I guess, yeah, because it can be quite terrifying when you have to make this change, especially if you've been using a system for so long.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think it's also up to the provider it's not only buy a tool off the shelf, but it's also the services that go alongside that to support the hoteliers throughout this change process, and not only to give them the technology, but also give them the best practices, so they can learn from the experience, for example, that we've had with other clients. So it's more than the technology; it's the whole package of the service as well.
Excellent, wonderful. Well, Fiona, I'm sorry you couldn't be here, but you're probably in a safer space.
Definitely warmer here anyway. It's definitely warmer.
Yeah, we are jealous. It is about 5 degrees here in Berlin. So we're all trying to keep ourselves warm and not be too close to one another. There's been certainly a few elbow bumps today. But thank you ever so much. And guys, thank you ever so much for joining us here. It was great to speak to you all. So back in the studio, we have Enzo.
Hey, man. Can you hear me?
Here in the room, we have Rita. We actually have quite a move to make, I believe. Rita, is that right?
Yeah, rush. Yes, so stay tuned. Enzo is going to play a couple of videos for you to keep you entertained. And I see you in a couple of minutes for the Muse panel. Hoteliers are going to talk about the change in technology and the POC by POC, step by step, right?
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, that's hoteliers as well, which is always nice to hear from the people that we're talking about all afternoon.
Yeah, well, family has cousins, we are all a big family, and that's what most comes across today, that we are coming together. And of course, hoteliers want to contribute as well. So see you in a couple of minutes. We are setting up the session. Enzo, the studio is yours.
Yeah.
Music, because the show must go on.
I try to entertain people, and we'll see you later, guys. Just WhatsApp me, send me some message when you're ready, and we'll jump in the screen again. All right?
Okay,
see you soon.
Great. See you now.
Bye. Thank you, Fiona. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Always again, guys. This is going to be crazy, I told you. So let's put some music on.
me high. Can't you see your touch? Can't you see your touch? Your touch brings me to life. Can't you see your touch? Your touch brings me to life. It takes me high. Can't you see your touch? Your touch brings me to life. Can't you see your touch? Your touch brings me to life. Your touch, it takes me high. Can't you see your touch? Can't you see your touch? Your touch brings me to life. Can't you see your touch? Your touch brings me to life. It takes me high. Can't you see your touch?
I'll go this summer so far away on the step of my foot, searching for Lilliput, searching for Lilliput. In the small in the small. Searching freedom into the small, into the small, in the small.
Welcome back to the show, guys. So in the meanwhile, you was preparing the setup and the new guest. I was putting some music. I hope you enjoyed it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's cool. Right. So keep going, man. So you can.
All right. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the panel, Muse, the Future's Awaiting You. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Bastian. I'm the Managing Director for Muse Systems for the in Europe. Muse is a cloud-based PMS system with open API. That's just about us. Together here, I'm sitting with some hoteliers that have been using Muse for quite some time, or some that will use Muse in the future. Maybe he doesn't even know it yet, but it comes as a surprise. So, guys, I just want to introduce yourself if you're okay with it. So on the very left, we have David. Let's start in the order of appearance here, not by ladies first. I hope that's okay for everyone. We have David. David is the owner of Hotel Big Mama. Hotel Big Mama has hotels in Leipzig and in Berlin, and potentially some more in the future. We're going to get to that a little bit later. He's building an empire. He just said. So what is it to know about? Like, so it's a hotel hostel kind of hybrid that you're running, and you took over the business from your parents, if my information is correct.
That's correct. Yeah.
Cool. Then we have Philip Ibrahim here. He's the GM for the student hotel, which we are which is happily hosting us. Thank you for that. He's 6 months in the role, if I'm correct. So just about there. He's a true chain hospitality child, if that's something that I've researched correctly. So that's Accor, that's Kempinski, I think. They were your stations.
You mentioned them, but yeah, it's Accor, but then Kempinski.
Okay. Then we have Georg. We have Madeleine here, Madeleine Ernst. She's she's sales and marketing at Circus Hotel, which is a hotel, a hostel, and apartments. So also multi-property, multi-purpose operation. And a funny fact maybe about Madeleine is she studied archaeology. So that's something that you can, fall into hospitality even from archaeology. We get to that later too. And we have Georg sitting here, Georg Gaag. He's the manager. I've written down he's multi-talented because he's doing everything sort of on his own. So that's hiring, that's IT, that's rates, systems, anything that you can imagine he's doing. And he's working at My Next student accommodation. They mainly operate from Vienna and Salzburg, if that's correct.
Correct, yes.
Cool. So guys, the first question that I have for you as a panel is to all of you actually. Can anyone share a story of the moment when you realized that you need to change something in your operation, in your PMS system? Who wants to go first?
Ladies first. Obviously.
And you can hold the mic.
It's not that we prepared this.
There was not one particular moment, but a lot of moments, basically every day. With our old PMS, it was very difficult and time consuming to get and also analyze data. So especially for the whole department of sales, marketing, revenue, it was quite complicated. And we always had the feeling like we could only react and never act on something because we couldn't get the necessary information in time.
Okay. Cool.
So I think our moment when we realized that we have to change our PMS was so we basically had to do everything on our own. So we had to change the city tax on our own. We had a list where our front office manager had to check the prices. So if the price is 69, then the city tax is about, I don't know, €2 or something. So we had to put it on in manually all the time, and credit cards as well. So we had to download them, we had to charge them on our terminal. And yeah, so that was actually the point when we said, okay, this is not the way we want to work in the future.
Okay. Well, if the question was for me as well, I have not decided it to change it. It was decided for me, but I'm very happy about that. Now that we opened the student hotel 6 months ago with another PMS system, which was then decided for the entire group of the student hotel to be changed to Muse. So the moment that I decided it was when they said, "Oh, you have a new PMS system." I'm looking forward to that. I'm very excited.
But I think that's something that some of the hoteliers are going through actually as well, like the operational people, at least when the deciding people make that decision. But we'll get to that maybe a little bit later. That's actually a good point that I want to catch up on. Georg.
Yeah, so for us, we already used a cloud-based PMS in 2015, but it was really made for smaller properties with around 20 rooms, let's say. And so it got really, really slow for our larger properties. And it was also not able to distinguish between beds, rooms, and dorms. And so at the end of 2015, it was clear to me that we need a PMS that is much faster, more reliable, and that can distinguish between dorms, rooms, and beds, because we have hotels, hostels, and apartments. And yeah.
Cool. Thank you. I think with all of these stories here, we know that a decision has been made to change a PMS system. So the next question, the next logical question that I would have is how to prepare for this. Once the decision has been made, that's a big step already. But then how do you prepare for it? What are the steps needed in order to sort of evaluate, is it making a list sort of writing down of the integrations that you guys have, or what you want to achieve, or what's for you guys, what's most important? Is it the customer journey that goes the first thing and everything else should follow that? Or is it, are you using your actual tech stack that you have and you need just something to connect it all with each other? Like, what's your motivation? What's your checklist, so to speak, when you change that PMS? Maybe we start this way around now with Georg.
All right. Yeah, so what I think a lot of hotels or hoteliers do is that they create a very, very, very long list of features that they want the PMS to must do and then should do, and what would be nice to have. And but this also means that they derive this from the past and probably from how they did things in the past. And so I tried another approach. So I was looking more for companies who were, let's say, forward-thinking and innovative, and probably for companies that had not yet the perfect product that could do everything. And I think it's impossible nowadays to find the PMS that can do everything. So I was more looking into PMSs that had the right approach, that were very innovative at what they are doing right now, and that had an open API to connect other tools and apps which the PMS can't do right now. And I think you have to be open to change procedures and not try to do things like you did it in the past. Sometimes that's just fine then. So yeah, that was my story, or our story. And yeah, I think that worked quite well.
That sounds super organized, though. I feel like we did have a checklist. Like, what did I miss? I mean, of course, we knew what we were looking for because we were missing it with our old PMS, which was getting data and analyzing data in a more efficient way. And also what you mentioned, like open API. We also struggled with our former system that there were like no integration at all. Is a bit much, but still it was very, very complicated to move forward in terms of efficiency with a revenue management tool whatsoever. So I mean, those were the important points that we had for ourselves, but then we picked basically 3 PMSs and then we tested them and then we made a decision, and yeah, that was it.
Okay. I think it's the upcoming change is going to be my 3rd or 4th switch in PMS, and I always it was always taken a decision that I have not followed. And if I look back, whenever you change, the first period of the new PMS is a hell for the team, and then when you change it, they want to have the old one back. And then the whole circle starts again. So I'm pretty much sure that this will happen again. But to be fair, I got to say that I usually tackle it from the side of the staff. So I want to have it as simple for the staff as possible. The reason why usually you switch a PMS is due to speed or technological approach is not good enough. The other one is not programmed further, or the program just stopped his story. So there's always a reason why. I usually wait for the setup plans and for the trainings, and then I see how the stuff takes in the new system. Usually, and that's quite good, those systems match better to the people now working at the reception because they're quicker, they're more easy to understand everything. So I'm not much worried about that. My worry usually is about data, and especially about booked in bookings. That's my major concern. Now, not for this property. I don't want to paint something, not the devil on the wall, something. I'm just totally easy, but I know in the old properties, it was always the point that will all information be set to the same spot? Obviously not, because there's always something. Oh, there is a kid over 16. This will not be played as a kid over 16. It will be a third adult or something. So this is learning by doing. But besides that, there is a clear plan. Plus, you got to say the easier the business is, the easier the transformation is. So when you don't have mice or conferences included, no group blocks, no allotments, not 1,000 contracts, that eases the things. And that's why I'm very much at ease for this hotel as we're open running 6 months. So that the history data is very short. Yeah. And corporate contracts is not so big. There's not so many things to see. I'm pretty much waiting for the day, and I'm always looking for 6 o'clock and for the first beer, and then it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing, there's not much more to say. But for us, for me, the main important point was that it's easy to use for the employees, for the desk because they are doing the job. And so this is the main point actually for me. Then comes the customer journey, obviously. But I have to admit, in Berlin, I didn't sort of anything, just that it is easier to use because I had no plan at all. But in Leipzig, when we took over Leipzig in March last year, we had some sort of a plan. But again, it has to be easy to use for the employees.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. And having heard all that, with the increasing sort of evidence becoming more clear and clear that sort of the new players on the market, the new PMSs that are out there, specifically the ones that are cloud-based, they all come with like open API, ease of access and everything. And that the evidence is so clear now that they might be even surpassing from the technological capabilities, all of the legacy systems. Why is it you think that not more hoteliers are actually willing to make a switch or want to change, knowing that they would change for the better? Like, what do you think it is? Who wants to take it first? Maybe we take a different approach now.
Well, I think the hotel industry is very much, I would say, conservative without being too traditional, without being too offensive. So you have to have a lot of not only one reason to switch or change something. There must be a massive impact in order for you to switch from a book where you write down the reservations and then cross it through up to a computer. And I think that's the major thing. And the second thing is that we're talking about a business where the profitability is very, very low. We have a lot of staff members. We have a lot of things to do. There's a high bureaucracy amount of stuff to proceed. So the reason to switch a PMS usually has something to do with your management structure of the whole organization. In our case, it's like if you expand globally, you need a system that runs globally. You need to be, in our case, in the head office in Amsterdam, able to track down the numbers within 3 seconds, which is not the case if you have a place in Berlin and Leipzig. But if you proceed on having, I don't know, Copenhagen and Stockholm, I'm sure that's going to be another piece of cake in order to have your profitability solved. So massive point is it's really an invest, and it's invest in time stuff. In these smaller hotels, and Germany is a market with a lot of private owned small hotels. You have people working 20, 25 years. This change process is not only that I decide as the head, man, our CRM tool is shit, we need a new one. So that affects like those people who play with it. And I think that's the reason why, I would say. Happy to.
Yeah, I would also say the most people are really afraid of the change because of losing their data. But then in this case, you have to ask them, what are you doing with your data? Are you really working with them? Are you using them? If not, what are you afraid for? Of course, they will be cut, and you will lose data. But in the long run, in the future, you will have better data. You will have better features, and you can work better, and your profitability is even better as well. That's my point of view. I can understand it for the big chains. Obviously, that's different to us, but maybe they could just change one hotel, try it, and then see if it works, and then change the others as well.
Yeah, for us it was a very, very long process to finally decide to switch the PMS. You probably know. I don't know. It took a very long time, and as you already said, it's also about resources, and you have a lot of ongoing and upcoming projects, and I think it always feels like it's never the right time to do it, but there is never the right time to do it, probably. And but yeah, people are afraid, and we all know the beauty of the comfort zone, I think. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you go to work and you know what you're expecting, you know what your workflow is, and everyone is just afraid to lose that safety and comfort.
Yeah, so there's not so much I can add. I mean, there are several reasons for sure. I mean, costs, and then you have to train yourself and your whole staff for a new PMS. But then it's also because people don't want to take a lot of risk. They are afraid of changing. And probably, so I can only speak for Vienna, but the hospitality industry in Vienna is doing quite well. So there is not high pressure to be innovative. So I think this is also this plays a role in that case, and I think then probably sometimes they have wrong concerns about things. So sometimes I hear people, okay, this is cloud-based, this is not secure in regards to privacy. But I think this is in most cases wrong. I think a cloud-based system is much more secure, and it's not easy to hack at all. And yeah, it's definitely more secure than on-premise installations. And so I would say the PMS, it's such a central part of your operations, and you should make sure that you are ready for the future. And then just when you have that feeling, then you just need to do it, make a plan, and then go for the change.
Thank you. David, part of my research showed that you are very creative when it comes to hiring your staff. Because I've been told that you don't hire necessarily from the industry, you hire from all different kind of industries. So my question, I guess, for you would be, so what are you looking for in people when you hire them, and how long does it take them usually when they don't come from the hospitality background to get used to work in the hotel and to get up to speed with the system? Like what and why do you think that is? Maybe.
So not coming from the hospitality industry myself, I'm a real estate agent. I learned that. I have to say that it's actually pretty easy to learn the stuff, but the most important part is that you have to enjoy being a host. So that's something you can't learn. You can learn how to use a system, but you have to be open-minded. Languages, of course, that's a big plus. And hiring people from different industries, I have to admit, gave us a huge boost because we got different approaches to things as well. Because we don't have this like, oh, we did it this way the last 20 years. We do it the next 20 years as well. We have people from all industries, and they say, David, we could do it like this because we are doing we did it like this. And I say, yeah, actually that's a nice idea. Let's try it. And then we can try it, and then it works. So yeah, just like I said, you have to be open-minded. You have to enjoy what you're doing, and all the rest you can learn. And with our PMS, I think it's really, really easy. You have the university, you watch some videos, and like you said earlier, the PMS is working like people are working right now as well, because it's just handy. It's really easy to use, like I said before. So yeah. There's no much rocket science. Yeah, there's no rocket science.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Madeleine, question for you. So obviously you didn't study archaeology to master the legacy systems, right? That's not a need. So I guess first question that might be interesting to everyone: how did you end up where you end up right now? Like what's your way? And then for you personally, what is the one thing that you look forward into a PMS system? Like what's your killer feature that sort of you're most proud of that you're using right now at the moment?
A lot of questions. Long questions. I think the first question is one of the questions that keeps my parents up at night. So yeah, I studied something completely different, and I worked in hospitality as a student to earn some money. So I started at the reception, then worked in the reservation office, and then at one point I got offered the job for the sales and marketing manager, and I was like, okay, you sure? I study archaeology. But in the end, it's also analyzing data. I mean, it's different, but not so different. Yeah. What was the other question?
What is the feature that you're most sort of proud of from the switch now?
I mean, first of all, it's existence, but as I said in the beginning, it's the easy access of data and analyzing it. That was something that was very painful before the switch.
Okay, thank you. Now, Georg, you have a very diverse operation, I might say. So your entire operation is made up of so it's bedrooms and it's beds. So approximately 400 bedrooms and additional 400 beds across 6 properties. Like, how are you managing this with, and I kid you not, with 3 people in total? So it's you, Georg, plus 2. So how do you do it?
So first of all, to be honest, so the core stuff is me plus 2 others, and Jenny and Chris. Hi, by the way. They are also
working at the moment, right?
No, I don't think so. I hope not. No, so so they're doing a great job, and they're also very like-minded. And but during summer month when we have open, so we are just a seasonal business. We have receptionists as well, and so how we can do it with just 3 people in the core team is because we have a lot of standardized procedures, and we have quite a good amount of automations, and big things like that all payments are automated. But also the little things like for instance, our catering company that makes our breakfast always needs the forecast for the next days. So we send them an automated email, so no one has to manually do it and forget it, do it wrong. And same for the cleaning. So we send them every day a forecast for the next 14 days. So that they know when we have a lot of departures, and so this is automated. Then we have a very good knowledge base, I think, where staff members can look up things easily. I think that also helps, and we also empower people to make decisions themselves. So I rather have them make one mistake instead of asking me 20 times for something. So I can live with a mistake. That's fine for me, and I think those are some things how we can do it like that.
Okay, cool. That's very inspiring. Philip, having worked, we said that before, like having worked at chain hospitality, Accor, I think multiple brands, then Kempinski. Like, what is it you miss most from that time, except for the suits?
How do I get out of there? I think that suit topic really follows me through. I didn't wear suits in the last year in Mercure as well. I got to say that. So they were, it's about the freedom you take yourself. It's a bit different than Kempinski, I got to say, but based on the people that you cater to. What do I really miss the most is hard to say. I always miss people. That's probably the biggest downside, especially when you worked in other countries. You have with Kempinski, I worked in Africa, in Chad, and the team that I had there, that was very intense. It's a war zone. You live in the hotel, and it's like your family. These people not to have around you is like really tough, trying to stay in contact with them. That is what I miss, and I miss these good talks and the good nights and a lot of dirty jokes and cold drinks. That is the memories that you create when you work, I think, in that industry. What I really miss in terms of operation, I'm not sure whether it's missing, but sometimes you don't need to think that much when you work in a big chain or in a big company. So there is an issue with that thing doesn't work in the way. Then there is for sure a person that had experienced the same thing, and then you had somebody with Accor. It's amazing. You call in Munich, you have a problem with the staff member, and you're not sure what the HR situation is on that. So you call a lawyer, and he tells you, "Yeah, do this and this and this," and then the case is solved. And then it's like problem in at 2:00, problem out at 2:30. So that's what is really amazing. Now working in a more startup-based situation with a headquarter in another country, a lot of things are not as established. So sometimes you have an issue, and I do remember barely that the tax law in Germany has this and this and that, but it's not like that I wait the whole year for that little information to pop up in the second where I need it. And having not somebody to call instantly, having it solved instantly is probably what I miss, but it's my own problem because I hate to leave the office with more than 20 emails in my email box. That's probably a personal issue. Yeah, no. But besides, you have the same? Well, see, but whenever I'm home and I have 37 emails, even though they're not important and I leave it there for a purpose, I don't feel good. I don't know why. So that's probably the downside, but it's good. In the last half year, I think I've used my brain much more intensely and diverse than I had probably before, which doesn't mean that I didn't thought, but
Okay. I guess I think we have to stick to half an hour or so. So my last two questions for the round would be, first, what's the one thing that Muse enabled you to do? Like since the switch to Muse, what is it that you could do that you couldn't do before? And what's your top tip for a hotel that might be thinking, okay, what do I need to do, in order to change? Or what is it that you would say to a fellow hotelier that it's still on a legacy system? Let's start with David.
Yeah. So to answer the first question, what Muse enabled us to really plug and play with the other tools from the marketplace. I didn't know that it's possible before I had Muse. So we had like 3 revenue management systems already, 2 CRMs, and we can just plug them in, try them. If it's not good, okay, then we cancel it and use another one. That's really nice, and it's really like this. There are some other PMS I know they're outside and they're saying, oh, we have open APIs and you can do whatever you want to. Then you ask, okay, do you have an open API to this tool? Yeah, it's on a roadmap. So if they say this, always be aware of that. And the second question again was, sorry, a top tip. Yeah, just
negotiate hard. Put them down.
Just move away from the legacy systems. Like really, just do it. Don't be afraid. Just do it and use something new. And of course, negotiate well.
I'm the one that has not experienced it yet, but I would say what I really look forward to is a good and structured reporting that would ease my life as hell. Forecast systems for housekeeping and breakfast. I love to hear that. I already said I'm going to nail on that point because that is really what is taking hours to understand. And what I always like, I like to have a quick personal contact if I have something that I want to have solved. That is probably the best thing. So that would be my top tip whenever you do it. And I've got to say positive. I'm very happy with Muse because they have an office here and I know the people and I already have like a positive sign that when I have something, call us, we'll try to work through. And that is something I have missed in the last, it literally whole my career when I worked with a PMS. I never had a person that I could say, hey, listen, there is a report, but that report isn't working. Can I have it in net or whatever? And that's what I look forward to.
For the first question, I agree completely with what David said. Muse Marketplace, big fan. Because it gives you the chance to try out so many things that you wouldn't have done because it means a lot of time and work and money, and you can just like try it out. And if it's not working, you didn't invest thousands of euros in a new connection. So that for me is a big, big plus. Tip, many. What I noticed and what I would do differently, I think next time, hopefully there is no next time, but is to be transparent about the decision-making process with every department in your company, because it's not necessarily obvious to everyone why you're changing your PMS. And I noticed that sometimes the front desk was quite frustrated because they didn't really understand why we would torture them with a new software, And I think just communicating with them what the decision is, they're more willing to accept the new challenge.
Cool.
So that would be my tip, I think.
Thank you. Yeah.
So for us, since we are a seasonal business, it was crucial that it's easy to use. So we open 6 properties on the same day with around 40 new employees. And we just have 1.5 days for training the staff. So that's crazy. So it's just crucial that it's easy to use. And then I also really like that Muse is cloud-based. and has open APIs, and it's reliable. My top tip, I'm just a huge fan of automation. Try to automate unnecessary stuff because it frees up so much time and gives you more time to actually talk to the guest. And this is what you want to do in hospitality.
That's really great. Thank you, guys. I think we're at the end. So that's the last thing actually that stands between us and the party. So thank you guys for the lovely answers and for the great panel. Thank you guys for being here as well. The people out on LinkedIn can't probably see them, but there's a couple of people here in the room as well.
Questions, we'll answer them.
Obviously over a couple of beers. And thank you guys on LinkedIn for tuning in. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. So
And you guys, I just have to say, you were amazing. I mean, we put this together, and thank you all so much for being this spontaneous. We put this together, in 2 hours?
Over yesterday evening.
Yeah. So sometimes being spontaneous brings a good results, and I really enjoyed your session and your insights. To be honest.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Enzo, you can't see me now. Can I just come here
Yes, sure.
in the middle?
Can we talk or are we?
You are expelled.
We can drink. But is there more
we
questions?
have a couple of minute break and come back again.
Yes, so we've got our last panel coming up, Challenges 2020. With
Free in the room. Secure challenges for me.
no more challenge for Philip.
All right. See you all at the bar.
So we've got Challenges 2020 panel coming up. If I can ask you, Enzo, to do a little bit of music while we are changing here.
Yep. Sure, I'll see you in a bit.
Yep.
On the step of my foot, searching for Lilliput, searching for Lilliput.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
I am doing pretty
You hear me?
And I can talk about the app.
Rita.
So I'm not allowed. I'm really not allowed to. Yeah. But
Could we talk about general trends?
Yeah,
Probably
exactly.
like trends in the industry.
Yeah. Okay. So I just like talk.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Something else we need to ask you like straight that you like to answer.
Hi, Enzo. Just give
can
us
you-
a moment.
Can you hear me anyway?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I do. So are you setting up? Who's going to be there? some
So
name.
the next session is about 2020 challenges, and we have got here Sophia Melas from Fly Now, Pay Later, Joshephine Köhn from Visit Berlin, and Luz Alvarado who came all the way from Barcelona to host this session. Can you see us all well?
Yes, I do, of course. You are all amazing. Let me see again. Yeah, that's
Great.
fantastic.
Great.
Where is Ryan?
Sorry?
Where is Ryan? Ryan is run away?
Ryan just went for drinks. We are cooling down now. It's the end of the day, Enzo.
Yeah, it was a very kind of marathon, this live stream.
Yes. But
Crazy.
Ryan was amazing. A big virtual applause for him.
Yeah,
He's
he did a
been
great job.
hero.
Did a great job. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start the panel. Challenges 2020, and I give the microphone over to Luz.
Hello, everyone. So here am I with Sophia and Josephine. We are trying to talk about what's happening, what's going on, trends in the hospitality industry from our point of view of each one. I will start asking them to present them each one and tell us what they are doing, why they are here, or whatever they want. Open mic.
Yeah, so I'm Sophia, and I work at Fly Now, Pay Later. I'm head of German sales, and I actually was an anthropology major in undergrad, and then I just got my master's in tourism, environment, and development. So that's been my entrance into the travel industry thus far.
So hi, I'm Josephine. I work as an editor for Visit Berlin, which is the marketing agency for Berlin. And I actually here to introduce our storytelling app about Berlin. Yeah, like, so I'm actually really excited to present it here because I know some of you would have wanted to come but couldn't come. So with our app, you actually can explore Berlin virtually. So, and I think we talk about it later, right? Of course. And most of you should know me. I'm Luz Alvarado, and we are building ChartOK in Barcelona, and software as a service platform that help hotels to boost the productivity and employees engagement. So with this brief introduction, I will start for asking, indeed, which is the biggest challenge you think we are facing for 2020, and how are you thinking that the industry will help it, or how your company is helping to face this challenge? For example, with all this that we are living these last months and weeks, Joshephine, that we cannot go to the city to visit the city because maybe travels will be affected. How you think your apps or apps we are developing help travelers to still traveling without going to the destination physically? Well, so the best thing, of course, would be also with the app to be in the city. And Berlin is a city full of history. Like, each stone in the city can tell a story. So what we did with the app, we looked for those stories, and we want to help visitors to not just like see the buildings and the places in the city, but we want them to learn about the stories behind it. So it's like a historic storytelling app, and the stories start in the 1800s, but they also go into the future. So we want to engage the visitors emotionally. So they learn about the people who lived there. They learn like what all those people in Berlin went through, the Berlin Wall, the fall of the wall, like the growing together, but like also like the times before that, and also the possibilities the city will have in the future. So yeah, check it out, and hopefully soon like you can come, because like the beauty of app and technology is, of course, like you are at a place and like you go on a map, and our app has a map, so you can share your location, and then you can explore the buildings around you, the places around you, and you can click on it, and then you can read the story, you can listen to the story. We have audiobooks, and then of course we have additional pictures and like video material, so that brings the whole city alive. Go check it out.
Oh, yeah.
You have a challenge you're committed to?
Yeah, I mean,
environmental tourism, master degree.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, I think it's really great right now. It's going on in the travel industry with this kind of move towards sustainability at every travel fair. I mean, everyone can kind of do their part, and I'm already kind of trying to come up with ways that, Fly Now, Pay Later can work with the companies that we work with to kind of give some sort of sustainable incentive, because the way we're going right now, it can't last forever, and everyone, is going to want to continue to travel and stuff. But we have to be careful with how we do that, I think.
Great.
Yeah.
And from the point of view of, cooperation between companies in the industry, for example, we in ChartOK, what we do is we try to find group of hotels or hotel management companies that are really interested in empowering their employees and talent retention, and help us to give this message to the top management, so they can be conscious that one of the challenges that we have today is to retain our talent and help our employees to be identified with our company. So in this aspect, talking about people, do you think that we have also to work with people? For example, you from your app, you should need to speak with a lot of companies and make partnerships and agreement, and you also with your company. So how is it going between the cooperation in the hospitality and travel companies? Is it working? Is not?
You mean talking to people in general, or like
talking to people, to agreements, to collaboration?
Yeah.
Are we setting up together B2B and B2C just to form a thing here?
I mean, yeah, so like conversations between, you mean like corporate partnerships, and Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a crucial part. Like with us, it's interesting because we're a B2B company, but a B2C platform, right? So our surface is B2C, but our clients are actual businesses themselves. So with that, it's like, but even for us, like just kind of being here and getting kind of creative with the people that, more creative with the type of partnerships that we form. Like, I think we can really, like we met with someone today that we didn't really think we would be able to work with, but then we kind of explored a lot of different avenues in that regard. And so I think, because the travel industry is so like diverse and, there's this whole new tech side of things now that like didn't exist beforehand, like all of everything that's going on today. So I think it's really interesting to explore like the different ways we can kind of work together to, grow our businesses, reach different audiences and especially expanding in different countries, right?
Yeah. And did you need Josephine to talk to the people, to the companies in the sector to form your guide and find everything? Yeah, of course. I mean, there are lots of strategies to make tourism more sustainable and travel more sustainable. And like from an editor's point of view, it's of course also very important to get lots of like partners on board. Like, first of all, you have to get to know them, talk to them, to learn their story so that you can tell their story. And in Berlin, like, I found that everybody is actually really, really open. So they share materials and pictures with us. And because I think we have that common goal that we want to inspire the world. It sounds so big, but like from Berlin here to bring those values of like freedom and tolerance, and that's also what the app is about out into the world. Yeah, so thanks for everybody who contributing.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. And lately, we talk about two topics really important for challenges in 2020: personalization and digitalization. How it will build, because I think it's really obvious that will build the future of traveling. How do you think it will build the experience, the customer journey, and the future of hospitality and travel industry?
So like specific customization then maybe. It's interesting because like for me, it's interesting to see here in Germany and the UK, like the way people book things. There's a lot of like personal interaction still in the travel industry. And, it's like this, there's a very like personal, everyone wants to create their own journey, So I think it's important to kind of while automation is so important, and scalability is so important, it's important to kind of customize the journey along the way, right? So, the way what you create for one partner is obviously not going to be the same thing you create for another. Yeah.
And you're like, of course, the app is very B2C. And like if I could dream up my own app, you could not just explore the city, but you could do like so much more with it, right? So I'm like, we're working on it and we'll see how it goes. And of course, you have to ask your users what they actually really want. And how do you guys explore a city when you come into a new city? If I can give the question back. Oh yeah, of course we can do it. For example, me, when I'm going to a new city, I'm in the get information group. So I first get information about the destination, but I try to find local information, not like TripAdvisor or sorry, I mentioned it, but I try to go to forums and local forums, so people that talk about the city as they live it each day.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I obviously will ask anyone that I know that has either spent a significant amount of time there or lives there. But also now, honestly, Instagram is a great way. Like I'll search a hashtag, I'll search a location, and I'll be like, okay, what's going on here? Like, what can you see that way? But yeah. I feel like those are the main ways that I do it.
Great. Okay, so Sophia, Brexit, 2020 challenge. How is it going over there? What can you tell us about?
Well, yeah, Brexit is interesting. So I work in the German market with Buy Now, Pay Later, but we're a British company. So immediately when we say we're in the UK, everyone's like, in Germany, they're like, what? And, and besides like, deep-rooted historical trust issues with each other, Brexit's been a big topic. But right now, honestly, it's just about calming, because nothing's happened yet, and everyone's like, oh, with Brexit, we can't work with British companies. But I'm like, no, you still can, like we're still practicing legally. Everything is okay. So it's just the hype around it. I mean, it's the same kind of, I knew we weren't going to talk about the coronavirus, but I need to draw a quick comparison. Like, obviously it's affecting thousands and thousands of people. People are sick. people are dying, but also like this hype around it is creating an even larger residual effect, right? So it's just kind of the hype about Brexit is even, you know, like I know things will happen, but like they haven't happened yet. And so our job really is to kind of calm people down and, you know, build the trust again. It's just about, it's honestly, it's about building trust. And as someone that's obviously not British, also like building trust with outsiders in a British country, it's complicated, but it's almost, you know, I like to think it might almost be not better, but they're like, okay, this outsider is trusting this country. Like, you know, just building trust, I think. Yeah.
And so I want to pass into other challenge. In ChartOK, we have identified a really important challenge is new generations. You know, people with 20, 18, 20 years that start traveling, or even younger that start thinking about traveling, but also that get into the labor market. So we have been through trying to face how they are going to think about the market, how they are going to work in hotels, how they want to work in the future. And so Joshephine, do you think your app is also for young travelers? They will like it. How you do to target this segment of customers that are quite different of people with 40 or 50 years old?
Yeah. Okay. Like about Berlin is actually it's like about a lot about history, but with multimedia we try to reach younger people too, and we also try to reach them through lesson plans. So that's a thing we would like to try actually, because lots of schools come to Berlin to visit the city, and for them it's like more fun if they can explore it themselves, if they don't have to just read books about it, but if they actually can listen to somebody in an interview who lived through those times. So this is how we try it with About Berlin.
Great. So I think Ryan is coming to save me. We tried to talk summarizing a little bit before Ryan get in. We talk about digitalization, sustainability, talent, younger travelers, and external political, economic influence topics that can hit us as challenges into 2020.
We covered a lot of ground. Really.
Yeah, we did it good. In 30 minutes. We are great. We're awesome girls.
Well done, ladies. It was fantastic to see such a breadth of subject there, and kind of from, you know, three unique perspectives. Oh, absolutely. Okay, right. I'll leave it all to you next time. Okay. But no, a terrific job. And it was lovely to meet so many other people today. I think we're going to cut. Enzo, are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes, we can indeed. Do you want to cut to a quick break?
Well, I don't know. Do we have some more panel, or what's going on now?
What's going on? I think I need a drink. And it certainly needs to be something a lot stronger than coffee. It's been an incredibly long day, incredibly long few days for all of us concerned when it comes to the ITB, whether you're at home or you're actually here. I think that it's been quite an interesting challenge for us all to try to overcome. And we're going to be back tomorrow, I believe, right, Rita?
Yes, we are back with whole new panels, CRM, artificial intelligence, but with a twist, because we didn't find any men for the panel. We are going to do an all-female panel.
Finally. I mean, I've seen so many men all day, man.
Come on, you're feeling the pressure. That was one of the comments. We're already feeling the pressure. No pressure, guys. Just tune in. We are here from 3:00. And for the ones who are here in Berlin, Women in Hospitality and Travel Tech is hosting a breakfast tomorrow at 10:00 here at the Student Hotel. And just carry on the day with us. The show must go on.
All right. So cool, guys. Really interesting. A lot of stuff. That was my first time so long the live stream. I hope someone did not complain for that. I had a lot of good feedback, so thanks, guys, for putting together this incredible day, and looking forward to connect tomorrow again.
Wonderful. Enzo, well done for being there in the studio and coordinating all those people who are joining us remotely. And, you know, those would obviously we won't get to see here today. And for the multitude of locations that we've been in today. We've definitely moved around, and this is just allowing you to see the boundaries that can be pushed with multimedia today in the ways in which you can engage with your customers, with your partners, and with the industry as a whole. Because when things like this happen, we need to find alternatives, and it's great. And I was having a conversation with this in the foyer, that the community came together. And it really has. And hopefully we can see more of this coming in the future. So well done, Enzo. Funnel TV. It's been a fantastic experience for us all today.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. A big virtual hug. And you've been amazing with your panels, really. And yeah, we hope to see you in Funnel TV more.
Thank you very much indeed.
Definitely from today onwards, from my point of view, Ryan is on board already. It's already on board.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys. So have a drink for me too. I'm gonna have a drink too later on. I still have a couple of calls, and then I'm gonna have my fun time. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.